Yes, we're on. So I am literally being electrocuted right now. I pretty much get electrocuted 24/7 all the time now. I'm not on anything. I am not mentally ill. And even if I was either of those two or both of those two, it does not justify not getting justice and not getting the trust in my family or my former family and friends and colleagues and the people in public and local law enforcement and healthcare, and including the FBI. So, Agent Sampson, I'm going to forward you a link to this, hopefully before I finish this video. But I am I'm near McAllen, Texas, in Westlake, and I am literally getting electrocuted right now. And it's hard to tell that I'm being electrocuted right now because I've had to deal with this for the past 3 years and 2.5 years, 3 years. And when it was blatantly made obvious to me, since it was blatantly made obvious to me, and I was dealing with it even for like about 3 years before that. And I'm really getting tired of them trying to choose the words coming out of my mouth. It is asinine that these people can just do this with no thought for anything. They don't think about, even in a selfish, evil way, they don't care about themselves because they think they can get away with this, and they probably can for a while. They've been able to get away with it so far for 5 years or more, as other people have. But this isn't something you can keep a secret forever. And the fact that they're trying to drag it out and keep it a secret longer and destroy the people that were victims and never let their stories be known, never let their family or friends be known that they suffered something that most people will never suffer in their entire lives. Something so bizarre and or horrible and or interesting and or something that was totally unknown to them that was actually caused by a human being that they have absolutely no idea that they were even a victim at all. Even the people that I've told, like my former best friend George, he thought he heard me talking behind my back in 2015, end of 2014, beginning of 2015. Excuse me. And I thought he was just going, I just thought he was like, depressed and getting paranoid and just losing his mind a little bit, because I would never talk behind his back. I loved him. He was my best friend. I had no complaints with him or Frank. And then, like, I even told him last year, almost a year ago, when I was trying to reconnect with people and I was hoping this was going to be over. And I was like, George, you didn't go crazy. You didn't hear things. You didn't suffer a psychosis. You did not suffer a paranoia that was totally in your head. A human being, a group of human beings had a soundboard with my voice on it and played it. And so you did hear me talking behind your back, but it was not me. It was my voice or something that sounded very similar to my voice, but it was not me. And it sucks that I've met these people that I know suffered, and some of them know that they suffered something. They have different theories for it. Some of them don't know that they suffered something that was not related to drugs, that was not related to mental illness, that was not related to or caused by those things. And some of them even believe that it was. And some of them are like, okay, and they had, and so their whole families, and not that this is something to be ashamed of, because it does happen to people in real life, but so there's some people that think that they just had a bad spell, and drugs are bad. I guess it was just the drugs that did it, or I guess I'm mentally ill, or I'm already taking a medicine for schizophrenia, so maybe my lapse in the pills, or maybe my condition has worsened, and I'll go to rehab or therapy. And maybe their lives got better, and maybe they didn't. And they have no idea that the group of human beings caused their episodes, caused those instances to happen. And it sucks that I know this. I know this about so many people. And for some of them, I'm not entirely sure, but I know that George was a victim. And I know that most of the people in my house were victims. There are people that visited my house that were friends that I've talked to since then, years ago, and like one of them was like, Hunter was like, yeah, I started hearing voices telling me to break into houses and to steal stuff, and he's a similar person to me. He's a good person. He doesn't hurt people. He doesn't want to hurt people. He has no desire to screw people over. He's not a sketchy person. So he obviously didn't do that, but he just thought so. When he moved away from Austin, he didn't hear them anymore. And he still doesn't know 100% that he's a victim of this. I think he believes me, but then when you read that, you're like, huh? But what, and how? I don't know if he knows it 100%. I don't know. I hope he does, but I wouldn't blame him if he's like, huh? And it's just kind of like with George when I tried to reconnect with him on Facebook a year ago, when I was like, George, you did hear my voice talking behind your back. It's like I heard your voice talking to me or about me or whatever. After I lost my house, like about 2 years after you heard me in your brain via probably sent to you via voice to skull, which is a real technology that's been around for over 50 years that allows transmission of audio via microwaves, which is why normal audio recording equipment cannot pick it up. Can be beamed at someone's head from hundreds of yards away through walls and barriers, and but it's probably like a drone that's like right up here. And like as I'm doing this, I don't know if there's like I don't know if you can see on the ceiling, but all this stuff. Like, and I don't know how much is on my screen and how much is actually being picked up by the camera, but look at my most recent videos. Like you see all this stuff that looks like, oh, this is camera noise. This is, I'm like, it's pretty well lit room. I've got lights over here behind me. It's overcast but bright, and that's, I guess, normal. I guess this is something that cameras would normally pick up, sort of, because there's different light levels and shadows and stuff like that. So, and this isn't the best camera in the world. I'm on my Chromebook. It's a 720 HD versus like 4K, but still, like, I don't know how much is going to be on the screen versus my camera, which is why it's so hard to show people sometimes, because it was like, oh, I have really good footage of this bullshit that I saw in the trees, and then you're talking to a cop and it's like, show it to me, and which, by the way, APD, you should not be so angry with people, and you shouldn't tell people. You should get angry at someone for not listening to you when you tell them to go find the footage on their phone of the projections or the nonsense that you don't believe, and then you get angry at them, and then they try to pay attention to you, and they're like, okay, officer, yeah, okay, I was trying to look for the video, but okay, I'll pay attention to you, and then you're like, you finish your spiel, which was totally non-productive and coming from a place of anger, which is like, why are you so angry? Why are these cops so angry sometimes? Like, what if I was mentally ill? What if I was having a bad drug event? Why are you angry about that? Like your job is to help people. Like, I was not on drugs and I wasn't crazy, but what if I was both, or what if I was one or the other? Like, that's not my fault. I mean, I guess it would be my fault if I chose to do a drug and had a bad reaction to it, knowing that I had a bad reaction in the past, perhaps. But drugs don't cause these types of things. I mean, some drugs do, but like not the things I was describing. And regardless, why are you angry about that? Like, that you're going to encounter people like that are encountering like a mental break, or that are not the best mannered people, or are suffering mental illness, and you shouldn't feel bothered by that. It's most of those situations are not their fault, or not their fault entirely, or even if they are, being angry about it's not going to be the best way to handle the situation. And I love how they're still electrocuting me through my whole body. Like literally, like my feet like are doing this. I'm like my calf is tensing up right now, and my feet are like ow. They're like they want to do this. Like they just want to do this so much, and so I'm doing like calf raises now. My calf now they're hitting my left calf, and it's like wrong. And so like I do these videos sometimes, and my speech is really rapid, and then like I talk to counselors, and they're like, ooh, or I talk to people that have a very limited exposure to mental illness, and they'll say, and it was probably due to these people sending a subliminal message via voice to skull, which again is a real thing. It's been around for over 50 years. It's been perfected, and magicians and mentalists use it when they have a participant think of numbers, like on America's Got Talent when they had Tyra pick numbers on her calculator, and they did that long number, and then that guy broke it up, and he was like, Howie, blah blah blah, and so blah blah blah, and the Spice Girls, what's her face? I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Scary Spice, or whatever her name is, Spooky Spice, whatever her name was, I forgot her name. She's a very lovely lady, I think, from what I can tell. I like you. And Heidi, they were like, and he broke up the numbers, and I am 99% certain, via voice to skull or some other technology, that mentalist had someone behind the stage or outside the studio beaming those numbers subliminally into Tyra's head, and she has no idea. And so they've been doing that for years. It's very important that this come out, and I'm sure that they've been keeping that a secret because magicians and mentalists, and they don't want their secrets known, because it kind of, for some people, kind of ruins the ability for them to run with that trick for a long time, or to do other tricks that are kind of used, that are based on that, enhance that, and they don't want that secret out, obviously. But this is so important, because when this comes out with this group of people, and this is like local law enforcement and or the government. Because consumers could not get their hands on this, and if for somehow that they proved otherwise, then I'll be like, okay. I mean, that's not something to like prove me wrong via constant bombardment of theories that they do, and and as evident right now, people who know me know that I'm normally the laid back, calm person. I can get passionate about something and talk about it, but I did not go crazy. You do not suffer mental illness at 41 with no previous history of mental illness. That is almost an impossibility. It can happen. I have not done drugs ever at a quantity or frequency that could have caused anything like I was suffering. And we're gonna have to redo every single fucking study on drugs, because meth gets blamed for everything. And I'm going to go on. I'm going to tell you, like everyone here, meth does not cause hallucinations. Now, could a large enough quantity cause hallucinations? Possibly. And then a lot of people know about shadow people. Like if you stay up for a couple of days, 3 days, and this is not meth related, but like people that do meth and that stay up for 2 or 3 days or longer know this. But then people that do other uppers, or people that are OCD of something, or people that just are focused on something and stay up for 2 or 3 days. I'm sure most people have stayed up for 2 days or 3 days, at least 2 days. So you know how you feel at the end of day 2, right? So imagine in a day 3 or day 4. Like I never did day 4, day 5 did that whenever I indulged. It was always in the past for recreation until this bullshit, and then it was used as a crutch here and there. It was pretty much weekly. I mean, it was daily for a little bit, but I wasn't. Nothing changed about. I didn't become a bad person. I didn't hallucinate. All it did was make me hornier or more slightly OCD on like cleaning and stuff. But that's intentional. And and also, you know, when I lost my job and everything, it's like it did keep my spirits up a little bit, and it kept me. I hesitate to use the word escape because it was more of a mood elevator, and they're still trying to choose the words coming out of my mouth, and I have no idea how much of the words coming out of my mouth are words that I chose or they chose. And if they just suggest a word, and then I'm like, okay, if you look at some of my videos, sometimes I'll pause and I'll go, yeah, and then I'll go, luminosity or something like that. They just chose that word. But I'll use like an adjective or something, and I'll pause, and then you'll see me like, and I'll stress that word, and I'll almost look annoyed when I do it. That's because I audibly heard them via voice to skull suggest the word, and I probably also heard that subliminally shortly before that. That's what's so frustrating about this, is they not only use this on me to subliminally suggest stuff as they do to other people, but they also do it audibly. Like the voice to skull does not have to be subliminal. That trick that they did on America's Got Talent, that mentalist that pushed the numbers into Tyra's brain, when she picked them on the calculator, she has no idea that was like an audio transmission to her via microwaves. And it's important to come out. I know that like we don't want, you know, the secret out, but it's so important because we need to find out, not just what this is so important. This is like this is going to be the biggest news story in the world. But we also need to find out, because of how dangerous this technology is, we need to do a historical data search on all like magicians and mentalists and other people that could have bought a voice to skull device, and you know, go to all the manufacturers and distributors and try to find out how to get records of that. Which, I mean, some of it's going to be impossible, but you know, I think magicians and mentalists, I think they have a registry, right? You know, for most people that are doing it. I'm sure there's some people that just, you know, buy into some of this stuff. But if you've got voice to skull and you're using it in magic tricks and stuff, you probably are part of like a magician's guild, right? Or a mentalist guild or something like that. Or you're probably known at least. And there's historical data on you being a person that might have had access to that. You know, not all mentalists and magicians use voice to skull or have those devices. Most don't, I believe. But we need to go and we need to look at where they lived and where they traveled to, if they're not completely honest with us. We need to see, was there an increase in mentally ill cases or drug psychoses cases? Like, were there people in the same apartment building as them, or within like a few blocks of them, or were there people when they traveled to a different city? Was there an incident that happened there with a person or people going crazy? And I mean, this is going to be so hard to find out, but it's so important that come out, and that it not be something that's covered up, and that it be like a 100% cooperation with you know, trying to get to the details of this, because the technology has been around for 50 years, but it wasn't like, even like a magician couldn't have gotten it 50 years ago to use this for this. I mean, they were doing studies on this, but I don't know how long that they, like a magician or mentalist, could have had access to this, or anyone else that wasn't like a government employee that was or a contracted company employee that was doing a study on this. You know, they have studies that are very public on voice to skull that takes advantage of the microwave auditory effect. And it's so important, and it's so hard for me to, like, there's so many topics of conversation that they're pushing into my head right now, and they're playing music right now, and they're playing tone, they play it over and over and over again. This is insanity. Even if I even in my current demeanor now, I'm still somewhat pleasant, despite that I'm literally being tortured and terrorized, and have been for the past like 5 years, blatantly, knowingly, so for the past 2.5 years, since September of 2016. And then, but there are things that the whole like last 2 or 3 years before that was a nightmare too, caused by them, that I didn't know about. along with a lot of other people. And so even in my current state, I've never been a manic person. I'm not bipolar. And the mental illness thing, there's an asterisk to that, a footnote. Aside from mood disorders like depression, aside from PTSD, things like that, trauma-related things, and aging neurological conditions, you do not suddenly develop mental illness at 41. I'm sure there are cases that could be looked at, but most people that suffer a mental illness, like schizophrenia, the age of onset is like the general range is 15 to 25. And while your brain is growing, kids, while you might dabble in drugs, you might want to like not dabble too hard in them because, and I'm sure we're not 100% certain of this, but your brain is still like developing, and you don't want to fuck up your brain during the development stages. So while you all should have like experimental experiences if you choose so, you probably don't want to be a pothead or a meth head or a junkie of any kind, a heavy user for during your teenage years or early 20s. Perhaps. Maybe we'll find out that it really doesn't matter how much you do, but it probably does. It's like, well, obviously there's studies of when the mother does things like that, it can like impact, even smoking cigarettes can affect, a fetus. So that could be extrapolated to be like, as we're growing and developing, as a child, that probably is holds true. Now, as far as how, like, what does Judge Judy says, and they're still choosing these words coming out of my mouth, and it's making me appear more manic and frustrated. The rapid speech thing. I don't know if rapid speech is a true indication of schizophrenia, but a lot of people talk fast when they have a lot of information, when they're under attack, or have been under attack, when they've been attacked, and when they've been served an injustice, and they finally get an opportunity to talk to someone like an FBI agent or a counselor who finally was there to get another exam for competency. It's unbelievable how easy it can be, how easily you can be found incompetent when the first psychiatrist says you're competent right before he dismisses you, but then changes that to incompetent after talking with your lawyer, because they think waiting for months to get on a bus to Austin State Hospital and then staying there for 4 months to learn about competency and the judicial system or something like that, which again, that needs to be looked at again, because anyway, who cares? Like, what if someone's incompetent, you think 4 months is going to make them competent? Or maybe it could be like a 10-minute like video of here's how the court system works. Here's how the system works. Like, we know that you might not have known the answers to these questions. So instead of asking you them first, we're just going to do like a little video, or like instead of recording your answers and then penalizing you for those, which was not my case. I answered every question correctly and showed a high deal of competency, especially when the psychiatrist said, "How would you feel about pleading not guilty by reason of insanity?" And I was uncomfortable with that, and I said, "I don't know, because it's kind of not applicable, because my lawyer said that it's a bad arrest and he's pretty confident he can get it thrown out. He didn't discuss that with me. Like, I don't feel comfortable being asked the question by you, because I feel like if I say, no, I'm not comfortable pleading that, I feel like you're going to penalize me for that, because you're going to take it as a refusal to acknowledge the fact that I might have insanity. And insanity and competency are not linked. I mean, you can be insane and still competent, and vice versa, perhaps. I don't know, but it's stupid. And then I said, so like I'm not. It's not like I'm refusing that as a defense, but I don't believe I am. And I don't. And then I said, are my charges, like, is that even a defense that could be allowed for for my charges, because like I'm pretty sure that you just can't plead insanity on everything. I mean, it could be on most things. Like that could be, but in a lot of cases, and not just with insanity, like you can't plead, like in the Edward Snowden thing. One reason why he fled instead of trying to fight this thing, and one reason why he hasn't come back, is the charges that he's on is something that was used for like Cold War era spies, and like they were leaking information to the enemy, which is absolutely not what he did. It's like completely insulting that he's still not been pardoned, because I think he's an American hero for providing that, regardless of the government's angry at him. And it's one of the few times I was very disappointed with Barack Obama's response to that. He's been such a good person about, like, he's such a good motivator and leader and speaker. He's so well spoken. He can inspire so many ideas in people and emotions in people with his speeches, as can his wife Michelle Obama. They're both wonderful speakers and motivators. But his response to Edward Snowden, and I know I'm getting off topic, but I'm gonna go with it because I'm live and I'm just recording the video. It was so disappointing in his response to that, because he seemed angry that, and maybe he didn't have all the information, but he seemed angry that, oh my God, someone leaked things and we were doing things, but we were doing things that we shouldn't have been doing. And the American people didn't know that, like, they were hooked up to Google and Apple. And remember, they didn't tell us. And I think Twitter was the only one that didn't cooperate with them. And they were secretly getting information on people because of 9/11. And it's so important to respond to that, because we're still, Patriot Act and all these other things that we're still doing are still happening. And with no benefit to the American people that's worth it. It's like, you can still do those things and still be honest about it and still get a warrant, but like every single one of your secret warrant things get approved, and there's no way that they cannot get, like, there's no appeal process, there's no this, and that's so important. And he brought that to everyone's attention. That was so important, and it's so important that they kept releasing things, and it was so important that we responded to it. And even nowadays, you can see through the timelines, like each of the people that were like going after him, like I guess the Department of Justice or the FBI or CIA or whoever, and the president himself, and like you can see over time, he was a traitor, and he was initially we're gonna get him, and then like even now, a lot of those people think that he did the right thing, and or have come to the point where they don't think he's a horrible person, and that he's someone that should be killed or tried for treason or whatever he's charged with. But I got off on a tangent there, and I just had to say that because I'm hoping that this will be over soon. And I don't mean Mr. President, I'm so disappointed in you for that, but like it was disappointing in his reaction to that, because I think it's important to reflect on that. And if we don't reflect on the things like that and react better and react completely and 100% honest and focused on doing the right thing, doing and not sugarcoating it, and not tiptoeing around on eggshells to not upset like the opposing party or other people that could twist your words and like then react to it, like Fox News and like a lot of people in gay marriage and stuff. Gay marriage is 100% across the country now. That wasn't a big deal. Like, I mean, it was a big deal, but then like, did the world collapse? No, boom, it's done. And now all these politicians that were like, well, I support domestic partnership. And you look back on that and you're like, wouldn't you have been more proud of yourself if you were just like, I support gay marriage, like it's like, okay. But you were like, and most of those people probably weren't personally offended by gay marriage or anything. They just were hesitant to be someone that would not have been able to continue to win an election or whatever. But so that's why it's important, like the Edward Snowden thing, to reflect on that and not to admit your mistakes and to admit, like, yeah, he should be pardoned. He should not be a fugitive. He should not be in Russia wondering if he could ever come back to the United States. And maybe he doesn't want to come back to the United States, but I'm sure he would like the ability to travel the world and not think that he's going to get snatched up and brought back here. But the reason why I brought him up is partially because, A, he's significant in the fact of he did something that was so important. And we still didn't react properly to that. Even the public now is still like, a lot of people don't even remember him. I'm like, remember Edward Snowden? And they're like, what? I'm like, you don't remember when those things came out? And I'm like, and I'll tell them, I'm like, huh. And I'm like, they did such a good job at like staging it every 1 or 2 months. And like, they kept releasing information that was so important so that it wouldn't just be like forgotten about. But then like, it's still, we didn't react properly to it. And that's just understandable because that's just what happens because, you know, things move on and like, there's no change because like we don't react to it because Congress doesn't do shit and they don't react and local law enforcement and federal agencies and companies and like they're just all flooded with nonsense that either red tape or they're just pushing their own agenda or it's like it's so hard to get simple things done in Congress that are just common sense and push something through. And I'm hoping that from the shit that I'm going through and that other people have gone through with this will be important. And when I was telling this, I would lecture these gangstalkers or terrorists. I kept saying, this is so important. This is going to be the biggest news story since 9/11, since Edward Snowden. I mean, it's going to be that significant. And I'm like, this one needs to be the one where we don't react to it the way in the past. Like it needs to be, and it won't be, I believe, so long as it comes out and it comes out correctly and it comes out with full cooperation and not letting these terrorists get away with it and not taking our time on investigating it. And I'm not criticizing the FBI agent should you be watching this. I'm going to send you a link to this and I'm hoping, I guess I'll try to link to like this time stamp. I have to remember that. But a detective and the other detectives at APD who probably will never watch these videos again. I'm telling the truth. And I know that like you're skeptical because, oh my God, like he hears voices and blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. What if I'm telling the truth? And again, I have already listed multiple victims. And a lot of those victims don't know that they're victims, but some of them do. And there are multiple victims and witnesses that have already gone on official written record with Travis County Sheriff's Department and were interviewed in person by a sergeant from Travis County Sheriff's Department. We all gave supporting statements about the electrical shocks. I don't know if the other victim, Hammer, John Pate is his name. I don't know if he mentioned the voices. I told him, I said, don't mention the voices because they'll just think schizophrenia. Try to avoid mentioning that you hear voices because, and this is another important thing, medical community, family, psychiatric, mental health providers, especially those at APD who keep calling me back. It's important for you guys to not let terrorism and not let torture and not let suffering continue. Just because APD said there's no use in there's nothing to follow up on this case, and I kept telling the mental health people, speak with your supervisor. Just because your job is to offer me mental health services, and if I refuse those, there's nothing for you to do. When I constantly tell you, electrocution is not a mental illness. I have multiple witnesses and victims. And when you tell me, I'm sorry, but they say that there's not enough there's not enough information to follow up on this case. I have literally, and you have those emails, and you hopefully watch those videos of me going, I'm feeling pain here. Now I don't. Now my hand's being electrocuted. My whole body's still being electrocuted. You can't tell because I'm doing things like this, like during the video, or I'm curling my feet like that. Like I'm not on anything. I'm not. When you're being electrocuted, and it's hitting me at various points, and they're doing that because, and this is exactly what they do when I try to reach out to a detective or an FBI agent. they get me off on tangents, or they make me sound like I'm more manic or that I'm on something. And sometimes they would hit me here when I was talking, when I was leaving messages for Detective Joseph Hernandez at APD. They would shock me here, and they would get my voice sounding like this, and I would have to leave messages to say like, I know that I sound like I'm panicky right now, but surprisingly I'm not. But there's that in me in my chest right now, and I'm telling you that because I know that my voice and my message right now sounds a little urgent, and it sounds a little, it may sound like I'm crazy, you know, or I'm having a panic attack. And understandably, I could be. So you shouldn't think of something like if someone's being tortured and terrorized and bothered all the time, they're going to be aggravated. They're probably going to have rapid speech. And I have always been fully explaining in like almost every single voicemail, every single email, like watch the video. You will see that I'm calm on the video, or you know, sometimes I'm aggravated and pissed off. But most of those pain videos, I'm like, I feel pain here. Like, oh my God, that does not look like a crazy person. Sometimes those YouTube thumbnails will pick a bad, you know, they'll like, and I'll be like halfway blinking, or I'm like that, and I'm like, oh great. And then I'll try to change it. And YouTube, you should probably have a little bit more ability to choose more thumbnails, you know, so that we don't have to do a screenshot of the video on our phone and upload that and blah, blah, blah. You should probably do that and get flip the video thing back, please. Like, I don't understand why you don't have that in your editor. I don't know why you got rid of the editor to begin with. Like, I don't understand why you don't have an editor. You should. I think that was a very dumb decision to get rid of the editor. You don't have to have the fanciest editor in the world, but if you want people using this shit, I mean, if like, I don't know, maybe it would be worth trying to make one of the best, you know, live streaming and whatever, you know, to keep people on your site, you know. But it's very frustrating to find video editors on Android. They're cheap or free, and most of them can't do, like, a lot of them can't do, you know, some of them do like basic stuff, like clips and stuff like that, but a lot of them are shit. And a lot of them, even the ones that are expensive, aren't very easy to use or good. So, and sometimes we just need to do some simple editing. So please get that back on there, and please at least, and get the rotation, or sorry, the rotation. I can't believe you got rid of that. Don't you have like millions of people that upload videos and it accidentally goes the wrong way because they started the recording with the, you know, the rotation wrong, or and then like they didn't realize it, and they uploaded it, and it's like, oh, and now I got a vertical video sideways on there. I can't change that. Oh, I can go, and then even the old method of doing it isn't there anymore. You disabled that. I have no idea why you disabled that. That has to be a very common occurrence of what people do on there. Even if you don't have this editing capabilities to like clip it and stuff like that, like, why don't you have a rotation? I don't understand that. But sorry, I'm in pain right now. It's hard to tell when you're being electrocuted. You are in pain, but sometimes like it's like so constant that you're like, and it's like, but then they're also going around hitting my body at various points. And every time I describe that, they do that. They're like, woo. Oh, now he's saying he's listing off the areas that he's hitting his body in. So now we'll like focus on those areas, like almost like a massage chair demo thing. It's fucking ridiculous. And so tangent. But this is a good example of what I've been going through every single day. A lot of times I just suffer in silence. And then I'll go and I'll have a cigarette. I'll go have Max out there. Then I come back inside. I'll go to the bathroom. I'll take a nap. Or I won't be able to take a nap because they're zapping me all the time. Right before I made this video, I was not in a good mood. It's a miracle that I'm in a good mood right now. And that's just because of the type of person I am. And I'm lucky with the brain that I came out with and the personality that I came out with. Like, I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying, like, and I have to do that because anytime I mention anything nice about me, or they'll mention it, they'll be like, oh, you're so humble. Is it a humble brag? And anyway, it's also been frustrating. I think I could deal well with trolls on the that leave you negative messages. Like I could probably ignore it, but what's interesting is there's some people that found my videos and that left messages that like here's a good example of meth. And I'm like, why were you looking for those videos to begin with? And if you look in some of those videos, some of them I am kind of manicky, or I'm, rapid speech, or I'm pissed off or frustrated, and or have I've suffered a trauma, and I'm like, and so I'm not gonna act like I'm not gonna be like the most calm and well-mannered person, and but I would have rather not had to do this, people. Ooh, shit. I dripped some drink there. Sorry. I should sound like to the detective before I finish this. I was like, how do I do that? How do I do that when I'm doing all these things and like getting distracted? Tangent. So, and they're trying to push me to say horrible things like, "Don't you hate your father for blah blah blah?" And they keep every single day, all the time, and they're like, "He doesn't know. He has no idea." Oh, he does know. And it's like, isn't it even worse that he knows and that he's not coming in to save the day? He does know. And I've got, now that I'm at the point, and like they pretend it's like a psychological study at times, where they're like an expert in psychology, or that they're manipulating me, and they planned it ahead of time. But we're pretty much at the point now where it's like, it's not that I don't care if he knows or doesn't know, but I'm like, the response has still been inappropriate and disappointing. And Dad, if you ever watch this, and I think I might actually send you a link to this video before, they're really hurting me right now. I'm sorry. My hand right now, this hurts like a motherfucker. It feels like it's being crushed. It feels like a tremendous pain, and they're tracking it. So if I do this, like I was holding the computer and it was hurting it. So they'll do these things where if you're holding yourself in a fixed position, you're holding the phone up, or you're standing, or you're crouching, they'll zap you in a way that, like, I don't know if you've ever been on like your knees for too long and something, you're like, oh, I gotta get up, and you're like, oh, and it's like that, when it's like you're kind of stiff. And I don't mean when they're numb, they can do that too, but I mean when that feeling of like, oh my God, now it's gonna hurt more. And sometimes when that point comes when you're like, if I could stay crouched down and stay on my knees too long, there's that point sometimes if you're conscious about it, a lot of times you forget and you're like, oh my God. But you're like, okay, if I keep watching this video, or if I keep staying in this position too long, doing what I'm doing, like this is gonna be one of those things where I'm doing it for 10 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour, and then when I try to get up, it's gonna be like, oh my God, it hurts. Well, they can increase that. They can do that like that, and you feel it, and it's like they electrocute you doing that. When you're doing that, sometimes they do it very subtly and they raise it, and you're already being electrocuted, so it's like, whatever. And paper towels. God, it's shocking me all over. There we go. Sorry, I had to clean up a little Kool-Aid that I dripped on the floor, or Crystal Light, or generic Crystal Light. And now they're zapping my mouth and my throat, and instantly I feel shocks on my throat, and instantly my mouth is dry. Like, instantly. They've done that a lot to me. They did that when I was arrested one time on a false charge of public intoxication. And the third cell I was in, it was a padded cell. I don't know why they kept moving me from cell to cell. They did this, like, and I was like, oh my God, I felt it burning all over my face. And I got to the point where I couldn't swallow. They gave me 2 Dixie cups over like the hour period, I think. Or it could have been a lesser time. Sometimes when you're suffering a trauma or an attack, it feels like it lasts a lot longer than it did. Sorry, I'm looking for I put my cup there. I got my cigarettes. Okay. Here you go. Hey, buddy. Hey, Daddy. Here's Max. Hey, Max. But ow. And it's gonna be hard to be a protective to watch, or my family. They'll probably stop watching or at all at a certain point. He's just crazy. Mental illness. So this is not going to be lit very well. Is it better? And so I'm up now, and they're shocking my hand, and now this fucking hurts, and they're still shocking it. Ah, like, ow. My shoulder's hurting. So I think I'm a pretty well-mannered person for someone that suffered such a traumatic thing, and how much they did and what they said. You will be psychologically scarred and hurt by what they did and disgusted. And I typically avoiding a lot of what they said when I was in jail one time, but they weren't doing like the heavy psychological torture shit. I mean, it was psychological torture, but they weren't. They said horrible things, but they didn't say the things that they say nowadays. And suffered for as long as then, and got to a constant feeling of like fear of, it's hopelessness, but it's more of a fear of like, will anyone ever know what I went through? And like they actually say that your dad, they're like, no, what you're suffering, nobody will know. Nobody knows that you told the truth. And I'm like, it's first of all, it's horrible what you did. It's a horrible thing to say to someone. And like, I'm still a victim as we speak. I'm literally documenting like a 5-year nightmare or 5+ year nightmare, and nobody believes me. I think the FBI believes me to some degree. They keep trying to promote, and they've done this, and they did this before to try to fuck me over, and then they get joy out of making me think that it's about to be over, or making me think that like, or even when I get the confidence of like when I add more to that, when I get more video footage, it's like, oh, this one's like super obvious. Like surely on my walls, Dad. Surely Tom and my dad will see those videos, and they'll be like, huh. Or my dad's girl will watch it on a different thing with their friends, and then they'll be like, yeah, I see what he's talking about. Like I'm not describing details of like, hey, I see like an animated thing of The Simpsons here, but it looks like animations to me, kind of. But I'm like, whether or not you see what I'm seeing, and part of the reason why you may not see what I'm seeing is different lighting conditions. Is that sometimes those projections are on the surface of my monitor and or in my eyeball and the camera lens and a camera lens. And the reason why that's is I've closed my eyes before. Like when I was at the Manor house, I closed my eyes before, and like I literally was like, I saw the same projections and the same patterns. Some to that swirly thing when that's important too, and that is important for the FBI guy to look at that. Please try to get your AV team to start looking at some of these videos. Like look at those patterns. You'll see some of the same ones. Those aren't normal patterns that appear in like video photography that I'm aware of, or maybe they are, and these people took advantage of that, and they're like, well, here's a pattern of camera noise. We're going to project camera noise, among other things, on people, so, and we'll make them like, oh, look at that. And then we'll project something in their eyes or between their eye, like on the surface of the phone or the laptop. So they'll think that they're recording something that's way more blatant and clear and evident of what they're seeing and was really captured. And like, that's like fucking I don't know if they intentionally planned it like that or if that was just the nature of the blanketing projections. But sorry, I thought I stopped the video. But how do I forward this? I need to pause for a moment here. There were a lot of times where I should have recorded something and I didn't. And I do other times, and I go off on all these like speeches and tangents and stuff that we've gone through over and over and over again, because it is so important. Like I still haven't followed up on the thought of so important to mention. And his case was important for 2 reasons. Specific to this, is that it was a milestone in history of when we didn't react appropriately to something, and someone else did, and someone was a hero, someone was brave, and someone like brought attention of to the public. I need to get my phone. So I think I'm still. Is it still okay? I need to get my. I'm using my phone as a hotspot because there's no internet here. So I'm gonna go get my phone. And it's like, that is not limited. It's like, I think people do know. I mean, I really don't know, but I kind of don't care at the point where it's like, you're like, this is so traumatic. And it's hard to convey that to people because if you act like a traumatized person, you can also be perceived as mentally ill or on something or on drugs. Like, I am not high. I am not drunk. I'm not stoned. I'm not mentally ill. Even if I was mentally ill, slightly or a lot, that does not mean I should be tortured and terrorized by people. It does not mean that when I have suspects that have confessed to assaulting me, and I've also alleged that they released information to these people, which is kind of important because if you think about that again, these people taunted me about details to Red River Family Practice in a concentrated few days, I think, at some time before I went to the clinic when I got assaulted. When they lied to me and assaulted me and did something that my dad still has not acknowledged happened exactly the way that I said it happened. Even when I immediately texted him that Dr. Lambeth confirmed that they admitted wrongdoing, and I told the truth. Now, did they corroborate every single event in my story? It's a pretty simple story. So I'm going to say that they did. Maybe they just said, sorry, we did that, and they didn't corroborate the events that happened, but I told the truth. They apparently told the truth too, unless Dr. Lambeth was just blowing me off, which is a possibility, but I don't think so. My phone, sorry. So we need that with the laptop. So, oh my God, that hurts. Oh. So it really feels like someone's hammering, like taking a hammer to my hand right now. Like my hand feels heavy. It feels like there's something crushing it. It feels like the warmth could be coming from my phone, but yeah, the warmth is probably coming from the phone, not because they can cause things to feel like they're burning and stuff, or frozen. God damn. So I suddenly now have arthritis in my hands. No, I don't. I suddenly have sporadic arthritis, and now both hands feel like they're like when I do this, they feel like they're in like almost like a liquid. Not really, but like it feels like it's in a thick, like I feel like a resistance against what they're in. It almost feels like there's like a thick gas, like, and they're like moving through it. It's hard to explain. It feels like something's squeezing my hands, like around every single part. It feels like each finger's being squeezed. It feels like my hand's being crushed, sort of, but not really. It feels like there's a thick, I don't know. It feels like my hand's in something that's where the pressure is stronger on it. And it feels like it's being squeezed and crushed. Like now I'm not holding a laptop. I don't have arthritis or anything. I'm only 44 years old. I've had no physical ailments really in my life. I haven't had problems. I've never broken a bone, except maybe like a toe bone, like a toe. I think I broke my pinky toe once. I'm not sure because I don't think you can really do about it. But right now, my hands feel electricity going through them. They feel a slight pulsation. I even hear like, and I don't know if this is related to it because they often will play audio to correspond with an attack. And then I'm like, and then sometimes they'll do that again. I'm like, oh, I hear the high frequency tone. That means that they're about to like do that thing that like crushes me and like they did at the courthouse for that public intoxication charge when I went there and was trying to sit calmly and wait for the judge or prosecutor. And I was sitting in the benches, and then all of a sudden I hear this.
but it was a higher pitch tone than that. And then I felt like something was going, and I was like, oh my God. Oh. And I could not sit there. And I had to literally get up and leave and go into the hallway and act like I was going to the bathroom or making a phone call. And I was hoping like I wouldn't miss being called to the prosecutor. So I kept going back in there because I'm like, I can't just wait out here. They're not going to call my name because you have to be in there. And so I would go back. I would sit down. Like literally, like I could not sit there and take that. Like I was, oh my God, like stop. And nowadays I'm just like, I'll just sit there and be like this. I try not because I'm so tired. I just don't want to do that. And like, especially if there's people around me, I look like a crazy person. Like, so sometimes I have to pretend like, oh, I'm blocking the sun. I'm playing fetch with my dog, and oh, it's bright, so I'm like blocking the sun in my eyes. And they'll have fun at that. They'll be like, they'll hit me in a way that like I could block it in a way that looks like I'm not like a crazy person like with my hands in the air. That I'm just like shading my eyes or something like that. But no, in fact, I'm blocking like this intense migraine or pressure on my eyes or my head. It's like when something's hitting you. It's not just a sensation that my body is suffering from whatever disease that doesn't exist or that would require all those things like, that I listen like a lot of my video descriptions. I did not suddenly come down with schizophrenia at 41 years old. That does not happen. That's impossible, virtually impossible. While there might be cases of that, you need to consider, like, again, that alone is a big red flag. People do not typically become schizophrenic, and that typically is not even the right word. People almost never, and perhaps never, become schizophrenic at age 41 with no history of mental illness. Period. There's no asterisk to that. There's no but no, I was not doing anything that could have caused that. Nothing I was doing could have caused that. And we're going to have to do studies on other things. It's not applicable to me because I wasn't doing anything that could have caused that. Now, have I done something in the past that in large doses every single day with other drugs that I haven't done? And maybe, but it's so interesting that we have no idea because these people target people that might recreationally use a drug or might fall back on one to get them through something, which should not be punished. We should not be punishing people for their addictions or these things that they lean on as crutches, because people are going through something horrible probably, or they have a physical addiction to it, which again is probably horrible. But we treat them like we shouldn't be locking up people that are doing drugs. Who cares? What are they doing wrong? I mean, maybe they shouldn't be doing that because they're neglecting someone or they're neglecting responsibilities or they're feeding an addiction, but they're not doing that. I mean, it's hard. They're not. A lot of those people aren't necessarily even enjoying it, or they're. It's not necessarily even a joy. It makes me feel less worse. It makes me not suicidal. It makes me not depressed. It makes me not feel as hopelessness, or it makes me escape the hopelessness. And maybe it's a numbingness, or maybe it's its own nightmare for some people. But anyway, still haven't sent this to the FBI guy or my father, and I lost my S pen. I guess it's inside. All right. I love it when my technology breaks down or I lose things, and then they're like and it's even harder to do something while I'm going through this process. While they're attacking me, they're still attacking me. They attack me 24/7 now. And my dad doesn't believe me, or he does believe me, and he's like, I don't even know. I can't say that. Okay, did this be the last time I forward it to you, and you won't even watch it, or you are watching it and you're not even acknowledging it? It's I'll never forgive you for this shit. And it's they keep trying to bring me to the point where I say that, or I say I hate you, or I say these things, and I'm I don't want to say those things, but then I'm put in a position where I do feel those things. It's understandably so, because the reason why they're suggesting them, because I'm already in that position where I feel those things, or I vocalize those things without their help. It's already with their help from the fact that they fucked me over, and you know, and made my family think that I'm the type of person that I'm not. And even if I was that type of person, that doesn't mean I should suffer. Like, you shouldn't still treat me that. You shouldn't treat me that way. You shouldn't treat people that way. Like my dad, Tom, sort of corrected the record that I never threatened his like daughters of like 5 years old and 8 years old for 2 years ago. Dad, that's very important to acknowledge that. That's very important to me when I finally got Tom to acknowledge that on a three-way text with you. And then he still didn't acknowledge it in the appropriate way. I mean, he was very glowing. You know, I got a glowing review from him on what a good person I am. But he basically corrected the record partly on the fact that I never threatened his daughters, and it was a total misunderstanding of something that could have never been even misunderstood that way, except perhaps with these people making you think that. Hint, hint. Tom, you probably don't have fibromyalgia. Oh, I have fibromyalgia too? So, like, Tom and I came down with fibromyalgia. He threw his phone in the pool. I threw my phone into traffic. He fell asleep on a bench. I fell asleep on a bench. He went through like a highly sexualized his partnership or whatever. They were like they went through a sexually we both went through times where we were like there was like a sexual focus or charge of like of interest and like not with each other but like I mean with them with each other but you both went through some similar things and conflicts like Betsy and Tom. You went through some stuff that Bernie and I went through. Exactly the same, but you guys were kind of made enemies of each other. You went through a time where you didn't get along. You separated. Like you said nasty things probably to each other. You that you probably would have never done had it not been for them. Think about that. And then like it's hard to be mad at you when you let me stay with you, but then I keep sending you texts of like I'm being attacked. Like Tom, I'm literally telling you like all I'm asking you to do is to get my father to believe me, because he seems to think so highly of you. The fact that like he still wants to send money to you to send to me. I'm like, why don't you just send it to me, Dad? Which now he does, but I'm like, okay, so I have to ask Tom for money, and he has to ask it from you. Tom, so I have to tell Tom to send money to Alan for rent and groceries, and then you have to send it to him. And then I have to hope that Alan's not mixing the groceries. Not that he's trying to screw me over intentionally, but I'm just like, I don't want to screw him over. You know, I don't want him to pay too much. But then I'm like, I want my money. Like, I don't want to have to like, it's dehumanizing as a 40-year-old person to have a 60 or 70-year-old person be sent money to you. And not just for convenience to get it out. And then like go grocery shopping and have him pay for it with the money that's been sent to him and with a mixed thing. And then like he keeps the receipt sometimes. And like, not that he's thinking anything or trying to screw you over or trying to do anything, but there's that whole like, well, did I like, I want to make sure like I paid enough, and I want to make sure like he didn't have to pay more, or you know. And then there's the whole balancing thing. It's like, so how do I have a credit with you, Alan, at $40? Okay, can you get some cigarettes for me? Like, it's just because my sister stole my car from me, sketchy bitch. Oh, but you would have lost your car anyway. I guess so, Robin. I guess so. I guess that entitles you to a free car, which I was like willing to sell and give you half the money. Like, I thought I could have at least gotten $2,000, and I would have gotten $1,000. Dad probably would have reimbursed you for the tires if you had asked him, which you might have. I'm not sure. And again, all the work that you put into the car, that doesn't matter. That's not a favor to me. You're getting a free car. That's what you do. That's what you do. You're getting a free rental car. You're getting a free car that's yours apparently, because I signed the power of attorney. I have no idea if you did that. I have not signed that thing that you needed to make the taxes or the fees less, but then you didn't wire me money for that. I'm like, and then you said that thing to me that was so those words to me that were so fucking hateful and possibly driven by them. You keep saying, maybe it's an order of events. I'm like, you possibly didn't realize it at the time, but order of events or order by is a big buzzword with them. And the reason why they kept doing it is at that time you were doing it to me, and ever since then they keep going, maybe your sequence of events was wrong, maybe that happened in a different order. I'm like, that's not important right now. That's not important if I have like things in there that are out of order, because some of them aren't dated. I'm like, I don't know when these happened, so I cluster them by like what happened, like the thing that happened. And if I don't have the dates, then they're just left in there as like sometime at the Grove this happened. Some like my Gangstalking videos. I don't have dates on every single thing, or I have rough approximations. I'm pretty honest about that. And in some cases where I'm like, they keep mentioning a detail where I'm like, am I questioning my own memory then? Or is like, did I question it to begin with? Or I'm like, yes, testimony is fallible. Mine is, I've always been honest when I'm like, oh, I'm not sure which happened first, but like, but I remember everything. They make me remember everything over and over and over again. And I just don't understand how people do know, but they don't know. And then you can't allow people to suffer terrorism. And I know this video is all tangents and jumping back and forth, but I'm literally being electrocuted right now. And I can't respond to that in a way that would be understandable like I did earlier, 2.5 years ago, freaking out, going like, oh my God, like, stop it. Oh my God, where are you? And then yelling at the trees of the Grove or in my hotel room, lecturing the people like, you don't hold something up to the window or make it look like there's a person in the window holding like something up to me and then going, it's a gun. like just weeks after that kid, that little kid got shot by a cop because he had a BB gun with a laser thing on it, making it look like a real gun, making the cop think he had a real gun and was going to shoot the cop. And I'm like, and so I get punished and thrown in jail, and I'm the one literally lecturing terrorists like, you don't do that. Like most of my outbursts and whatever have been like lectures, like at the Grove, even though I was like pissed off and like yelling, which I shouldn't have done. But and even when I made a point, I would go on for another 20 or 40 minutes, sometimes repeating myself, or perhaps driven by words that they were saying, or driven by my own words that they captured and were saying through me by memory or by recording, which they do. They do all the time. And like, I wasn't doing anything like thank people, like all these outbursts, all these things, they were me responding appropriately or not appropriately, but understandably to terrorism, to torture. The cops and the government and the army, I guess, have drones and weapons that aren't on drones. They're handheld or like attached to a vehicle or some kind that can cause a great deal of pain, discomfort, for short bursts or a prolonged period of time. From afar, through walls, and every single law enforcement officer must be already aware of that. Like, I can't believe that there's a cop that isn't aware of these weapons, even if their department doesn't have these. They should be aware that they exist. Like, I mean, there's no way that like every single person, every single detective and cop or whatever, like even my own doctor has heard of riot control devices. I'm like, there's these devices that can like shock you through walls and stuff. He's like, yeah, I've heard about that. And I think he was telling the truth when he said that he wasn't just appeasing, or he wasn't just, there we go, they just chose appeasing. And they may be choosing every word that I've been saying, or a lot of them, for this video. But that was a moment where they focused on it in a nasty, like intending to annoy me way, intending to cause me pause. Because it's like, do I say the word that they chose? Was I going to say that word anyway? Does it matter? Is it going to cause them satisfaction to do that? When I've already paused to think about it, which they've contributed to and put emphasis on. So they're aware of it. I'm aware of it. Now they know I'm aware of it, I think. Because so that's just for that brief moment, they and I are like, they're like, ooh, is he going to use that word cause or is he going to use cause for pause? And I mean, in that small moment, less than a second, or sometimes a second or two, that happens 24/7. That's not in my head. I do not have that type of brain that does that. I know that doesn't mean like the brain can't get to that point. That does not happen, and typically is the wrong, or atypical is not even the correct word. That rarely happens. Multiple personality disorder, known as dissociative identity disorder, is not even believed by some psychiatrists. I didn't. So. I mean, I might have multiple personality. Like I might be suffering that after this trauma, but the people that don't believe me don't believe I suffered a trauma. Therefore, I couldn't have developed dissociative identity disorder and all those other things from a trauma that didn't happen. Think about it, people. They're pointing that out too. They pointed out to me all the time when I put that on my YouTube thing. So I'm sitting here documenting something that no one's watching, that I'm so questioning on whether or not to send a link to my dad because it's jumping all over the place. And I've already sent him enough videos that I don't even know if he watched a single one of them. I know that when he said he was watching the videos, you were a liar and you did not watch every single one of those videos. You technically could have downloaded every single one of them from Google Drive and gotten them to someone. You did not. And if you did, and you were doing this behind the scenes, fuck you anyway, because you could have made my life less painful and less suffering and not wondering if I'm going to be alive in a year. Not just like, and it's very difficult to explain that to someone when that's a legitimate and understandable fear and worry among many other stresses that are going on that one should not ever feel. Certainly not feeling it 10 billion times a day, pushed by these people, or perhaps pushed by one's own thought process, which was understandably would happen anyway to a degree because of the injustice happened or because of whatever condition that my brain's in. If you believe that it's all up here in my brain. Either way, not my fault. Either way, not someone to treat as a horrible human being. Either way, not someone to be inhumane with, or to be allowed to be treated inhumanely, or to be allowed to be not believed, or to feel like he's not believed. And shut up. Sorry, it's schizophrenia. Anyway, no, yes. And now they're attacking me. I'm still being electrocuted. Still being electrocuted. I'm like, is the FBI going? He's gonna follow up on these things. Oh yeah, I keep all these messages to people that I'm like aren't gonna watch these videos because I'm not gonna send a link to them because they're not subscribed and watching these videos in any sort of caring way, even if they do think it's total mental illness. Now you're making me do the eye roll thing again. And now they're trying to, like, they do this all day long. It's like, it's so, they just ride the emotional roller coaster. And like, I just have to sit there and be like, and sometimes I'm just like, and I can't even say some of the things that they say to me to a lot of people. First of all, I don't talk to those people anymore and I don't want them in my life anymore because of what they did to me and what they didn't do. And how they think of me. And I'm like, even if you think of me like that, you still fucked up. You still don't treat someone like that. Like you don't, and it's might not entirely be your fault, but you don't treat someone like that. When someone like tells the truth over and over and over again, and you don't believe them, and then you recollect incorrect information back to them that you say that they told you, and they keep correcting you on the record. Like, no, Dad, I didn't say that. I said this. My story has not changed. That's what I said. And then, like I say, and then I call APD all the way up to the commander, Art Fortune, and then I still have escalated to the police chief and the sheriff and the police chief of Manor. Like, I'm trying to do the right thing. I always do. I'm a good person. I'm letting you know that I just got out of my doctor's office. This is a year ago. And I just found out now that they confessed. I don't know if they said why that they did it. That's very important for you to find out, because I believe it relates to this case. Even if it doesn't relate to this case, and then I've made a separate case on it, it's still assault and they should be arrested. Oh, but he's an emotionally disturbed individual. So any further case from him, so no matter what happens to him, we just won't respond to him. We won't even respond to it. There's an emotionally disturbed person. We won't even call them back or talk to them unless they hound us. And then eventually we'll get the crisis intervention team to reach out to them for mental health services. Like, what is going to a counselor going to help me when I'm being electrocuted, when I'm being tortured, when something happened, when Max is taken out of is kidnapped out of my apartment or hidden, and a false police report is filed on me saying I stole a pickaxe from the maintenance garage. Why would I steal a pickaxe from the maintenance garage? Why do they get an officer to my door the next day or the next day after that? Because my recollection could be wrong, or they could have been planted that a long time ago. And so every single time I mention that verbally or I type it out, whether it's recorded or not, or whether it's viewed by other people, or whether they're just telling it back to me, he mentioned that. Was it the next day? Or was it the day after? It was the day after. I'm like, well, maybe it wasn't after. Which that started a long time ago. But then they'll mention that every now and then. So it's like I gotta waste time in my videos when I'm ranting about something, or when I'm talking to someone, or not wasting any time at all, and I'm just typing it up, or I'm ranting out loud that the next day or the next day after. And then I start to reduce or remove that a day or two, or the next day or the next day after that, because in my document I'm trying to be 100% accurate and correct, and notate when I'm not 100% correct, because I didn't, because I reported it months later on some things, or the event, I recorded the event details months later, and I'm like, what's the next day? When did that cop come to my door? And I have no record of it, so I'm like, So for almost 2 years, they've kept that thing going. They've lived with me for 2 years, and they've kept. That's just an example of another bullshit psychological irritation device, torture device that they get to do, and they get to amplify and draw attention to, that they will repeat again and again and again. Should I mention that event again? Or should I be watching a video? Like, maybe I'm going through my videos and I just click on that one. I'm just, let's look at this one. Or I'm trying to cut it down for the FBI guy, so he can he doesn't have to watch 20-hour-long videos, or 10 minutes. Some are 10 minutes and some are hour-long videos. But so every time I recollect that event with them saying I stole the pickaxe from the maintenance garage, and why would I do that? And I'm like, well, they got an officer to my door the next day from their police report, from their false police report. I still have not gotten a single person, aside from the FBI guy, from APD, to call me back on that case, on the assault of my dog. I mean, the kidnapping of my dog. They chose to say assault just then. They focused attention on that. Did they, or are they just pointing out a slight mistake that you just made? Or is that your brain doing it? Your brain's damaged, kid. Those were their words. Those were not my words. That's possible with voice to skull. Voice to skull alone, I'm not sure, because I don't have a voice to skull device. I have no idea. There's not a lot of information on the internet And it's so important that this come out, that voice to skull, perhaps better accomplished with the enhanced technology that might not just be voice to skull, because when they choose sometimes words that come out of my mouth, they will shock my face. They'll shock my tongue. They can literally, when I'm with my mouth closed or open, they can literally shock with such precision on the body. They can literally cause my tongue, and they'll even say it before they do it and after they do it, and they'll point it out. And I have no idea whether or not they can literally see with the, they can see through walls with the X-rays on the drones that they have for crisis scenarios when there's a hostage or a gunman situation and they need to look in a building and see where the people are, the victims are, and where the bad guys are. They've had that technology for a while now. That's not sci-fi. That's not conspiracy theory. There is a valid use case for it, but how often does that use case happen? And when that use case does happen, how successful is it? How likely? Do you actually get the equipment there in time to use it appropriately? Do you execute it appropriately? How successful is it? Would it have been successful without that equipment? Like, was that something that was worth the money? And like, did it save lives? Would it have not saved lives? How would you have handled the situation differently without those devices? I can understand how they're helpful, but like, what happens with these devices when they're not being used in a appropriate situation? How do you know they're not being used? How do you know they're not driving around town on duty or off duty? How do you know the SWAT team's not going around town shocking people and fucking with people on their lunch break or while they're supposed to be doing something else? How do you know they're not lending it to their buddy police officers that aren't in that department and off duty or on duty? I mean, you see cop cars just sitting around, around town. I mean, like, we need officers, and it's like, we don't want them, we don't want them responding to a crime 24/7 because we don't want that. Obviously, isn't going to happen. So they're obviously going to be patrolling the area. That's part of that it by itself reduces crime. Just like that Walmart study found out that having a security guard in a golf cart going around the shopping cart reduces crime, like assaults, rapes in the parking lot by like 100% or 99%, I believe. And is it even a correct city? Maybe there's a city that was doing, like, these. They keep bombarding with stupid shit. It's not stupid, but like, that's important. But like, how do you know that? How do you, I've described to you literally sensations that can be caused by devices that your department probably has or may have, or that the officers in that team or the officers in general would have contacts either in the professional or social networks that would have access to those devices, right? So maybe Travis County Sheriff's Department has them, but Austin Police Department doesn't, or vice versa, or they both have them. I don't know. Maybe neither of them have them, and this is the military. Like, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. I don't want to do that. And there's like they're saying horrible, dehumanized. Oh, there's my nice one. I'm reaching in my pocket now. And like this, like, I know this is so unbelievable because this would never happen to someone normally. But all those other bad things that happened to me, like the assault at Red River's family practice and the release of my healthcare information, which is like, that's important. They admitted to assaulting me. Unless Dr. Lambeth was just lying to me, but they should have been fired. APD, I called you immediately and you didn't call me back. And I escalated over and over and over again. I filed a separate case on it just to keep it separate from the gang stalking, in hopes that another detective would follow up on it. I haven't been called back once. I was assaulted and I was not even given a call back, except by a mental health crisis team that say, well, the detectives say that they don't have enough information to follow up on. That is the biggest bag of bullshit I've ever heard in my entire life. And it's also a big bag of bullshit that the mental health officer, even though he promised to talk to his supervisor, like, the supervisor should have called me back. The supervisor should have called me back with the detective supervisor, the sergeant, who hung up on me once without talking to me. The only time he ever picked up the phone when I called him, he picked it up and then hung it up. Probably because he had caller ID and saw on his desk and was like, "Oh, I'm not calling that asshole back. You're the fucking asshole, and you're gonna fucking regret that." Sergeant Cowden or whatever your name is. And they're choosing those words too. And that's not a threat, but it's a I don't want you to regret that. I don't want this to be the base professional and personal mistake of your entire life. Like, well, we thought he was an emotionally disturbed person. Did you not hear and see and read and big bold? And this goes out to my dad too, and every other person that didn't respond to it appropriately or fast enough. They confessed. At least from my perspective, from what I was told, they confessed. So as far as you know, they confessed. They confessed. Why weren't they arrested for assaults? Why were they not even questioned to confirm that they confessed? That would also help with the HIPAA violation and perhaps a lawsuit, medical malpractice or whatever. Like I want to do those things, but no, I want what's fair. It's like, fuck you guys. You caused me to suffer an additional 2+ years because you agreed to do something that you should have never agreed to do. There's no way that event happened randomly. There's no way that event happened without any, like, there's a motive there. The motive is someone asked them to do that to me. It's also important because again, I've provided countless examples as to how I know I'm not schizophrenic. And this is why I never mentioned the voices for so long to some certain people or ever to certain people. Because what if I am schizophrenic? So what? I'm not, but like, what if I am? I'm being shocked all day long by these people. I was assaulted by those people. Those people, that apartment complex, filed a false police report on me. Like, do you see a history before then of when, like, I think that like people are fucking me over and over and over again? Like I was minding my own business usually. I was in a hotel. Like, yeah, when I had a lot of people in my house, people were coming and going. Like, yeah, whatever, it got sketchy, but the town was getting sketchier from these people anyway. Like, normally you don't have to worry about people coming into your house and stealing stuff. But yeah, I guess if you're hooking up with someone or like with people that you don't know very well, that could happen. That didn't used to be. I mean, that was always a risk, but like that didn't used to happen the way it does now. That's something that's important to look into. Is your town getting sketchier? Is Austin getting sketchier because of this shit? Yes, crime rate went up in Austin. I believe this was a direct contributor to that. It perhaps was the primary contributor to that because I've met a lot of people going through this bullshit. And because of what they're going through, because they're already mentally ill, because they're already manipulated by these people, or they're already gullible, they're already a conspiracy theorist anyway, or they're already, I don't want to say unintelligent because I can totally understand going through this stuff, how there are people that think they're lizard people or whatever, because I've seen projections of like lizard-like creatures, and I'm like, oh, they saw a projection. But like, so it's understandable. Like it's like, yeah, it sounds ridiculous that there's a person on YouTube that's like in his garage saying, I think there's like these lizards of people or whatever. But A, you don't know that he really believes that. B, he could be like, because in some of my reports to people that now went in my medical records and the police reports were twisted or complete lies or taken out of context. Like I was like, I woke up and they were like, what? And I was like, I want solving world hunger. And I was talking to them slightly or something. And I was making a joke and like, because they keep mocking me about what good could come from the reaction to this case. Like there's going to be so much pain caused. There's so much pain caused by this. This is going to be bigger than Edward Snowden on 9/11. Should it ever get out and responded to appropriately. Now they're playing like uplifting music, like like strings, like something that would be playing on like an American Idol, like the story of like a contestant's like family, like and like you're in like feel good music or inspirational music of like an athlete during the Olympics or something like that. Now they're playing dun 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 dun. Now it sounds like a cross between like news is starting, like it's like the evening news. Now like dun 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 dun, dun, and they're combining it slightly with, or they're telling me like the alien music. Dun 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 dun. They'll do that all day long. They play the Olympic song, the NBC Olympics theme thing over and over and over again. You know those trumpets over and over and over again. You know, we've heard them for years on like NBC. Like, yeah, if you're watching the Olympics on TV and you hear that, like, you might not be annoyed by that. You might get annoyed by it at the end of the day. You're like, yeah, damn, like every single time they go to a commercial or whatever, they play that fucking music. I'm so tired of it. Imagine hearing that. I don't know how long they played it. Because sometimes you eventually sometimes tone it out and it's like you play it, or they'll dip down the volume and maybe they're still playing it at a subliminal level and you just don't know it. But they literally played that for like all day long. I don't know if it was 24 hours, but 15 hours, 8 hours when I was at the house in Manor, like all day long, along with the other bullshit. And that's a reference to, they were trying to make you think the Olympics were happening at that time, I think. And then I found out, oh, no, the Winter Olympics happened at the beginning of the prior year, or the beginning, like a year ago. Not like I thought they were about to happen, because I'm not like, wasn't watching the news. I was like, oh, the Olympics. Oh, yeah, the Winter Olympics. A lot of people don't pay attention to the Winter Olympics. You know, especially if you're not watching NBC or network TV. I was like, oh, maybe the Olympics are. And they made me think of, then they make a reference to Saturday Night Live with what's her face from Ghostbusters, or like, and they make reference to her, like her number one slave draft pick, Leslie Jones, which I love that. I love that the introduction to her Saturday Night Live. I love that bit, that whole like number one slave draft pick. Like I love it. I think it's brilliant. I thought that was awesome. And they reference that because they joke about the whole like the sex slave thing and the whole, oh, you can be sex slave. Oh no, you are a slave. You're a slave. They call me a slave all the time. Oh, you're a slave. Oh look. Oh, this subject in the study, this participant. Yeah, they do treat me like a slave. They do this. They fuck people over. They're terrorists. And they're just, I reach out to people, and now I don't reach out to anyone because it's like, you fucked up, and I didn't want you to fuck up. You kept fucking up, and I know that it was partially an understandable reaction, still inappropriate, to someone that you thought was going through something different than what they were going through. That still doesn't mean you yell at them and call them a meth head. I'm not a meth head. And who cares if someone's a meth head? Robin, you're a pothead. You were drunk for a while. Maybe you're drunk again. I don't know if you're still drunk. Who cares? I mean, if you're causing like, I mean, I'm not saying who cares in a way of like whatever, but it's like, I don't judge you for that. I mean, I judge you for being like treating me the way that you did, and for lying to me several times, and like all of you guys lied to me all the time. You talked behind my back, and I realize that sometimes you have to do that for people that are incapable of making decisions for themselves. I am not that type of person. And that also doesn't mean you treat them like that. And I know that there's some people that are in a mental state where they think that all the time, even when you're not doing that, and you still treat them humanely, whatever. But I was not in a state that required mental hospitalization, pretty much ever. The time that they were like, I was like, we put a joke on Kip and they pushed me in the apartment naked. I can understand why like they responded that way. However, why were they already at the Grove? Is that now were they already at the Grove, the cops? And they saw that and they're like, oh, they were there. Did they cause that event happen to why they were already there? And this was it planned, or were they like, hey, cops are being caught over there. Let's push them out of the apartment naked. We're already fucking with them now. Yeah. How did Gavin get there so fast? How did Gavin know I was naked outside so fast? Where literally when I get back to my door, I see him like coming right behind me. Were you literally sitting there waiting for me to come out and then you responded to that? Did they tell you? Probably, because you're like, there's no way that you were totally like you and or the maintenance guy. There's no way that neither of you knew anything bad happened to me or that you were a participant in. There's no way that you were a totally innocent person like that. No way. I guess you could have been manipulated. Like, what about the pickaxe? I guess they could have planted that in your brain, and like, oh, he probably like they thought like how Tom thought I threatened his daughters from a text that had nothing to do with his daughters and wasn't even a threat against anyone. Like, they can do certain things, like, you know, like, to a certain extent, but like, look at it again. Like, but you filed a false police report. Like, did you know? It's so important. And they keep bouncing back and forth. Gavin knew. Ooh, Gavin, you should kill Gavin. Blah blah blah. And it's like, oh, if I even mention that, what they're telling me, or if a real schizophrenic person mentions those, people will react badly to, oh, he's a dangerous person. No, most schizophrenic. I'm not schizophrenic, but even if I were, most schizophrenic people are nice people that don't want to hurt other people. They don't want to hear the voices that tell them to do that. They have no intention of following the order, the suggestions of those voices. That doesn't mean all people that have schizophrenia or other mental diseases that something is caused by that, or some belief is caused, which again is so important to look into and respond to rapidly, and with like so much correction and so much research into history and into current data now, because what if the Austin bomber was pushed to doing that by these people? These people threatened to Arlington Road me, which doesn't work out for not Tim Allen. They'll do that. Fine. They'll switch the names and they'll be, oh, I'm like, he's married to Susan Sarandon. Not Tim Allen, but Tim, what's his face? I think it's the tall guy, Shawshank Redemption. Sorry, I forgot your name. It's like insulted by that. He's married to or has a long-term relationship with Susan Sarandon, who was in Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is significant because that was the night that you came home and your mom was mad at you because you didn't call her to tell her that you were going to be so late, and then she got off on your dad for worrying about you, and they overreacted because your mom overreacted to stuff. And this is totally their words. I'm literally telling you their words that they're saying to me right now. So far, like what they're telling me is true. I mean, Dad, you might remember this. You might have told them. Or like not knowingly or knowingly, to give me a message of hope. Hey, that was a time. It's not a message of hope. I don't even know if there were any messages of hope where they keep telling me details about things from my former my history. Like, ooh, how would we know that? That's the secret message. Like, even though these people are fucking with you, somehow we have a mole, or we got someone, and we got information to them to give to you, which has been done before, or they pretended to have done before, that I took that way. Like, how would Tracy, like, I was like, there's no way that even if you hypnotized me or whatever, or drugged me one time and like debriefed me about my whole life, I'm like, there's no way that you would have known about Tracy Countryman that I gave her Frosties outside that drive-thru window. Like, I don't even know if she remembers it. She might remember upon if someone reminds her, but I don't know if someone went to her and said, like, tell me everything you remember about Kip. I have no idea if she would have recalled that. But now, if someone told her that, would she have recalled that? Maybe. And then this happened at Manor House months ago, and I was like, I was in the front yard, like, I was like, there's no way that you would have gotten that information, and like, there's no way that little minuscule thing would come up during, like, even if there was one time that you used that drug on me that allegedly exists in that South American country or Central American country, where it comes from. That powder that you can use. SVU had an episode on it where you like blow it on people, or that you put in a drink or whatever, and they literally like follow your commands and are basically hypnotized. And you can literally like do it to them and like say, and then you'll be like, take me to your ATM and give me all your cash, and they'll just take you to the ATM and like give you all their cash. They keep mentioning that they did something like that to me. I have no idea. They also mentioned to me that they can use this and like have chats with me while I'm sleeping. Now, I know that because I've seen them do this with Tim, and I've seen them do it, and they've done it with me too. I've woken up to them doing it to me, and Isaac said he heard me talking in my sleep, and they made a special mention of that. They can literally make you talk and say words when you're like half asleep or unconscious or whatever. They can literally choose words They can literally like control your speech. I don't know if it's 100%. I don't know if they can do it 100% of the time, but they can do it. I don't know if they can always do it when they try to do it. Maybe sometimes they do it, it doesn't happen. But I literally have been witness to me waking up doing it. I've literally seen Tim do it, but from them. I've seen people consciously do it and not even be aware that they're doing it, dropping buzzwords like a motherfucker in conversations, and they have no idea that they're buzzwords. They have no idea that they chose words that these people chose for them, like Dr. Lambeth, infrared, bees, overlay, motor. They want me to include lawnmower in that, but it's like, okay, whatever. And then like those are words that don't want to come up during a conversation in the exam room. That made me like, what's going on? But then like, I'm like, there's no way he's a bad person. He's like, this. So I'm like, that's how they drive paranoia with these people. That's how they drive people to think that people are in on it. That's why, Robin, when you had that shirt with the 8 on it, that's why I was pissed off at you, because I thought it was some sort of thing, some reality show thing, and it was over, or like it was a bad thing, and it turned into something where like, what are they doing? And like, you guys had to watch them from afar secretly, or you had to be like, okay, you're caught now, and like, we have to watch what you do and record it because you never recorded it before, which is something that they terrorize me with every single day. Oh, the reporter's finally here from whatever. One of us called him over, and like, we know that this is a fuck over, and like you're not gonna believe us, but we're gonna add a little bit to it, and we're gonna make the story so ridiculous that like there's no fucking way that like not one of those people, or like I don't want to be like, I want to do the right thing, and like I don't want to like fuck myself over if I'm caught. And like, wouldn't it be more interesting if we were caught? Like, or just like, I want to be a better person and fix this. But like, oh, the reporter from Vice News is here, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah. They're watching this, and it's like, that's okay. You've already said that before, and they'll say it again, and they'll build it up again, and they'll also zap you in ways that make you. They can zap you in ways that give you goosebumps, or give you like a. They can literally like manipulate your emotions, because when we have emotions, sometimes we have a physical response to them, right? Like goosebumps, or sometimes when you're sobbing, you feel a certain way. When you're crying, sometimes you feel a certain way. When you're happy, you feel a certain way physically. You're physically, not just emotionally, but your body feels a certain way sometimes as a response to that. Sometimes, like when you're crying, your nose stops up, or you get like little tingles in the tip of your nose, or it burns a little bit right before you cry, or you start to cry that time. We have a physical response to those things that are natural. They know that, and they will zap the body in certain ways with such pinpoint precision to hit the body in a way that we are already accustomed to feeling, and it may differ from some people to other people, from an emotion, and that will then in turn make you easily reminisce and revert to that emotion, which is something that could be understandable anyway in that situation, just by a mention from a voice or something, or of a recollection, and then you might get in like that type of mood, more easily anyway. But they have, and that's why it makes me question, like, is this the cops? Because like, they're like, I'm like, they do things to me with such pinpoint precision and such expertise, and I'm like, this isn't like, did the SWAT team like have these things, and then like they got experts in this, and like they did this, but then it's sometimes, and they even question it. They even make me question it, but I'm like, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. It's not my job to come up with the reason. But like, people kept asking me like, who is it? I'm like, well, the police minimally aid them knowingly, and they're like, well, actually, you'll find it interesting that when this comes out, you'll find it interesting that not one single person was in on it at all. They did not know of their existence, and we manipulated them. And it's like, perhaps you did. I find it highly unlikely that every single awesome police officer that I encountered, that not one of them knew of this group and knew what they were doing. Like almost in full. Maybe not like to the degree of it, but like maybe they thought a prank gone too far. Why did the cop plant drugs on me? Oh, you just didn't know that you had it. No, I didn't have any drugs on me. Well, we had Isaac drop some drugs on you in that bag before he left. No, Isaac did not do that. Well, when you went out to your car and you're packing your car, we had someone open the door and put drugs into that bag. I'm like, probably not. but still very important, because if someone was arrested on false charges and the cops planted drugs in them, it would be a natural desire for that victim who still has not seen justice and is still further victimized, especially to the degree of what they went through. And this will be a natural desired response, and perhaps a followed up response by the public in general, by the justice system, by an angry mob, by people that take care of the things for everyone, after everything's like all the information is blah 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 blah. A victim would likely want to seek revenge against that person, or seek justice, or just seek answers, or get them to tell the truth, perhaps by confronting them, perhaps by finding out who they are and going to them. But how are you going to confront them? How are you going to make them tell the truth? That could lead to a very highly escalated situation, which could be successful in getting the truth out, but is not something that we want victims to have to even feel the need to resort to, which they would naturally feel possibly anyway, totally understandably so, when they were victimized by someone like the police officer that did that, or like the two ladies that Red River Family Practice. And again, I contacted APD immediately, and I stressed that to them. I stressed that to them again, over and over again in emails. I was like, I'm sure. I was like, they confessed. You can call my doctor. You can come to my doctor's office. He will verify that. I'm like, that's important. They assaulted me. That would never happen to someone ever in their life, and it involved at least 2 staff members that did that. And now I'm telling you that there's also a HIPAA violation, a release of this information ahead of time, which strongly suggests that I'm not schizophrenic, along with the other incidents that happened that would prove that I'm not schizophrenic. Not that it should matter if I'm schizophrenic, because schizophrenic people should not be allowed to be assaulted without an investigation being done and charges being drawn up on those people that assaulted them, that confessed to it, that you still don't follow up on, further leading the victim to want that to know that, like, okay, I may not know about Gavin because it might have been the maintenance guy, or might have been, I don't know like how much they knew. I don't know, like, I don't know which one of them is sketchy or evil, or both of them, or more. So it's like, but still, he's like, the FBI guy will hopefully follow up with him. But I know that those 2 ladies at Red River Family Practice, they knew they did something wrong. They knew it. It was not something. It's not something possible to happen to a person randomly, unless like their nurse just went, like, or the medical assistant just had a mental break. Was like, I'm gonna start stabbing people. They still worked there. They still acted normal with their coworkers. Isn't that strange that they stabbed me with a needle after already drawing blood, and then lying to me and say that they didn't draw blood, and then getting a ridiculously sized needle that may have not even been sanitized, and to stab me and to wrap. I didn't even need a Band-Aid. I might have needed like a little dot Band-Aid for that, but I didn't even, like, it was already clotted. They wrapped me in excessive medical tape. And they were like, oh, you're junkie, huh? You're junkie, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. And I'm leaving the doctor's office, like, feeling judged, or after already going through, like, months at the Grove, where they secretly make me think that, like, the staff is in on it, and, like, they're secretly recording sharing this, like, these videos with the staff and or certain residents, and they're all watching it, and they're all laughing at me, like, getting tortured and terrorized in my house, and, like, calling me faggot, or, like, making a sex slave jokes, or, like, making jokes about how, like, my life has been ruined and I lost my house. And I'm like I felt that way because I literally, like, they literally created the audio to make me think that all the time. So whether or not you continuously tell yourself that's probably not the case, I hope it's not the case. I'm like, there's still a group of people persecuting me and making fun of me. Whether or not they really, like, think those things, it doesn't matter. You're hearing a bombardment of dehumanization and, like, demoralization, and like the things that they say are just like, it's like things like an online bully or troll would say, but like over and over and over again, while you're being, like, my asshole is being shocked right now, or right around it. They're literally like, well, I'm telling you, like, they have pinpoint precision. I'm literally like, they're like my glutes are if it's like someone's like going like ooh, like on each like cheek sort of, they're like moving around, or they're doing like a wave or something like that. Like I don't think like I felt so many different sensations before. That one's like pretty unique as far as like they're so they can pinpoint and like they can change the voltage and amps on it and whatever else to a degree to have such pinpoint precision on a person. Like they can make me itch, and I used to have eczema, and I still do technically, but I don't really have a problem with it anymore. But they'll just make like one part of my body itch. They'll make my ears itch, and they'll make Max's ears itch. Like Max will go through periods like they literally torture Max in front of me, and it's so frustrating because it's like, is he scratching his ears like obsessively so? Because I mean, he didn't have fleas, and I'm like, is that them? And then I'll put my hand over his ears, and then I'll feel like the beam on my hand, and then there'll be days where they make my ear itch, like throughout the day. Well, where I'm like, ugh, and then I'm like, and they're like, ooh, Max, and I'm like, I know that they made Max's ears itch. Now, I'm not saying every single time he scratched his ears it was them, but I'm saying like I know that they do that. They do it to him. They like to prey on the fact that I'm a compassionate person, and I feel bad for Max when he goes through those things. So whether or not it was them or not, at a given time, they know that I don't like him to suffer like that. It's horrible. like I don't want his ears to feel like that, where he has to constantly do that until they're bleeding. Like it's horrible. Like it's like when I had eczema, it's like, people were compassionate towards it. Sometimes it's horrible. You itch and you scratch it and it still itches, and it's a nightmare sometimes for some people. Like it's bad enough if it's just arms, but like it's already annoying enough if it's like a mild version of it. But like to have an itch and to keep scratch, they've recreated that with me. Certain things, they make a particular part of my body itch. I'm like, and I'll shock it, and it's not just an itch. You can feel the electricity to it too. And like you can also then block it, and then just like the pain stuff. It's like, oh my god, my ears itch, and I'll do that. And like sometimes I'll just cut my hand over that, and I can literally feel them like trying to like get in at different angles to my ear. Sometimes when they block a body part, when they're trying my crotch, and I'll cup it or do this. Again, like it goes through walls. Again, it goes so the mattress is not like you're not protected from below, especially if you're on the second floor, third floor, fourth floor. It's like you will get attacks from below, and then it'll make you think someone's in that room. And then you'll go to that room to try to knock on the door, like I did one time a long time ago, and then like the maintenance guy will be rushed to that room, and you're like, and there's no one in the room, and it's like that room was clean. Like why was he rushed to that room? Did they hear the fact that he was going to that room? Is the hotel manager in on it? Like, do they do this in certain hotels? And because they get sketchy people to like help them fuck people over, fuck with people, and those people may not know to the degree of how they're fucking with people. So I mean, they got two ladies at Red River Family Practice to at least two. I'm trying not to be conspiracy theorist. To assault me, to lie to me, and to then suddenly give me like the like, oh my god, that's how they released. That's how my information got to these people, and that's why they were taunting me not too long ago about details from my past visit notes, and further trying to taunt me with, ooh, you must be schizophrenic. Because if we were just people fucking with you, we wouldn't know about that little detail from a visit like 12 years ago to Dr. Brinson at Red River Family Practice, where Dr. Lambeth is practices. I'm like, well, we already know that you're not schizophrenic because you read license plates ahead of time. You're also shocking at the same time. It's like I'm not suddenly schizophrenic and experiencing epilepsy and fibromyalgia and like sudden migraines and itches and like this and this and this and this and projections that my camera picks up that other people see, but then they don't think anything of it. Oh, that's just camera noise. No, Dad. Like I have a Galaxy, like either I had Note 7 and S7, Note 8. It's one of the best cameras out there. 4K in a lot of situations. Like I know the cameras don't always work well in dim lighting, but it does not cause that type of camera noise. And again, I have told you countless times, it doesn't matter if you can make out any imagery in it. You can still see like blah, blah, blah. You can literally see like the thumbnail to that one art print in the Manor house. I literally show you like, here's what it looks like now where I don't see that crap. Here's an image, same lighting conditions, daylight. There's a glass front door. That's what it looked like to me that day. with like crap all over it to my eyes. Now it's more colorful with the Samsung camera because it's more saturated colors, but whatever. My eyes saw that. That's not normal. Oh, it's just camera noise. No, it's not camera noise. I'm not taking the camera and pointing at the wall. Just now, now there were times earlier when I was trying to find a drone or people like around the apartment place. So there's, especially at the Grove, you will see where like sometimes when I'm like trying to like see, I'm like, where's the like there must be a drone or something, like, and looking for a drone, But I still saw projections, and if you look at those videos again, and if I'm going to try to do this as some of those videos, like you can see what I see, and it's frustrating because I know that some of that's fully captured in there, and it wouldn't be necessarily noticed on a casual glance of someone just looking at the video. But that's why I started taking videos of videos. And in some of these videos, it's very clear that there are distortions or projections or lighting or lights that should not be there. And that even if you wouldn't have noticed that to be abnormal necessarily, because maybe you do think, oh, maybe it's camera noise or whatever, there was something, maybe there was like maybe somebody was projecting a movie outside, and this is just like the whatever. When someone tells you, my eyes saw that on the wall over and over and over again, and that I have seen that in other situations where it was lit up like a neon sign outside in the thin air, like a hologram, like where you don't always remember to have your camera, or you don't have your camera, your phone's dead, or it's like so like and kind of interesting and perplexing, and you're already going through some other trauma that like, oh, there's a hologram of a bicycle, or there's a running person. I think it was a still running person that I'm walking by. I'm like, there's a hologram of a person right there, not like a full, like it wouldn't look like, but a hologram of a humanoid, like I think it was in a running position. Was it male or female? I can't remember. Could you even tell the gender of it? No, I mean possibly, I can't remember. But it was like, there's a hologram of like a full size human being like on the sidewalk right in front of me that I'm walking by at night after like I lose Max, and then I think that like they have Max in a van running around the city after that incident at the Grove, one of the many incidents at the Grove. And then that same night, I see a hologram of like a bicycle, pretty crude. I mean, it wasn't like you couldn't make out, but it still looked like a bicycle with wheels. And it's like, I don't think the wheels were spinning, but the bicycle literally like, it's so weird that they do things like that and then like they never do them again. Or they'll hint them again. And I'm like, why? And they'll just stuff that's super obvious and like, but there's no one walking by that would notice it. Or if they did, they'd be like, huh, that's weird. Huh. That's weird that the tree does kind of look like that. Blah, blah, blah. And like there's evidence of that. Like look at my recent videos. That shit should not be on my walls. There shouldn't be blue lights or yellow lights or whatever going blah, 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 all over my walls. Now earlier when I was like I tipped it up like that, like that might not even be noticed by most people because they're focusing on me or whatever. But I'm telling you, that grain that looks like kind of like TV static sort of. If you look at it in slow motion, it still may not be an animated illustration of some kind, but it may be a pattern, or it may be, you might happen to see interesting stuff in there that is intentionally computer generated or drawn or programmed to be slightly irregular so that it is not perfectly clear when people record it many times that is like, oh, there's a face there. No, but if you look at my videos, sometimes I'll outline them. When you focus on one eye, or when you're focusing on like your brain has a pattern recognition, and you focus on one eye or the pair of eyes in between, you won't care that one eye is like slightly larger than the other. Your brain already recognizes what eyes look like. So many different types of eyes, even cartoon eyes. Sometimes eyes are just dots. Sometimes they have an iris to them. In those videos, or there's like a shine or a sheen. They just I'm like, God damn, do they have this programmed into like a thing that like, or did they literally from memory every single time point out things? Or do they have like a computer program where like when you say this, it says that? I have no idea. Like, would the SWAT team generally do that? Probably not. Could a person do that? Yeah, but like it would take like a group of people, you know. Well, I mean, they have groups. I mean, that's that's their group. That's their social thing. That's their hobby. What was the point of this video? It was to do it like a documentation that I was intending, hopefully, to send to the FBI guy. And then I'm like, well, I'm going off on too many tangents. So if I send it to him, he's just going to be like, whatever. He can't spend the amount of time on it. But this is so important to spend this time on it. And you don't even have to spend the time on it. So maybe I'll link him. And I keep planning on, I'll link him to this time spot in this video per their suggestion or reminder. And I'm like, but isn't he already following up on it? And isn't he following up on it because someone like tipped him off? Or is it really the sheriff that got annoyed and she's like, but like, why would she call the FBI and like get him off my back? Like, that doesn't make sense. But he was like, get her off there. And I was like, I don't think that was an appropriate response either, because I'm reporting something that they fucked up on, and that they fucked up on big time. Whether or not they have complicit officers or not, they still had officers that dropped the ball. They still have officers that may have told me, you shouldn't have told on us. But it is not a mere coincidence. Mere was just a buzzword that they just said just then. And it's like these videos will only be interesting in reflection. And it's like, but people don't want to reflect on this, but some people will. But it's so hard to get people to act on things when they're so important, and to try to act calm and collected, which I've been groomed to do it because I'm used to it. And it's partly my doing, and partly it's just complete necessity, because like they got me kicked out of the Manor house for nothing. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was in my bed. I was in my bedroom. I might have been talking to them at this level of volume. I wasn't yelling. There's no way Alan heard it from his bedroom, although they do have the capability to take audio, whether it's pre-recorded or from live from another area around you, and then via voice to skull or whatever other technology that they may be using, long-range acoustic devices. I don't know. Probably not. Probably voice to skull, and make them sound louder. So there may have been times where Tim and Alan thought I was being loud and I wasn't. I don't think there were any times where they could have done that to a degree where they followed up on it. I mean, there's that bathroom incident when I was being in pain and I was like, and I was yelling at them and I was like, stop. And there's that time when I was like, but like, there's no way you heard that from your bedroom. And again, if you believe I was schizophrenic, Alan, schizophrenic people talk to themselves in their bedroom sometimes because they're having a conversation with an imaginary person and they may be fully aware of it. It's hard not to respond to that. It's hard not to respond to that. Like, it's just, what if someone calls you on the phone and it's a soundboard and it's not a real person actually talking to you? It's no different than that. You're going to respond to it, but you're talking to like a fake, you're not talking to anyone that's real, but someone's causing that. Well, does it matter if the brain's causing that or if someone's pretending to, or to mimic schizophrenia, or mimic a phone call that you can't get off of, or a radio station thing? Yeah, I love these videos. This is why I don't do these videos very much. It's like they end up being like, oh, this would be interesting in reflection. And it's like, well, who's he going to send it to? It's like, well, you eventually will have millions of people watching this when this comes out. Yay. That will be interesting that I've documented this and that people remember what I went through. And hopefully there'll be footage of the flip side of this. And that's not the point of this video. I'm talking to them when I say that, or they're telling themselves that. It's like, and this is what I go through all day long. And you don't even know what I'm like, you can't feel it, you can't see it, you can't hear it. I can sometimes like go, okay, this is what they're saying, but I hate doing that because then they get to be like, and sometimes they'll drive the conversation when they'll change voices, like when they did the Kermit the Frog thing. And I'll go with it because I'm like, this is so fascinating in some aspects. And it's important to know because it's like, do you think I'm literally like telling you these things? And then I'm like, was that stupid to post that video of me going to the Kermit the Frog thing and some of the other things? And they were like, is that like, was that so stupid? Like, was so crazy or so bold or so whatever that like they would be like, oh, and there's no way he's crazy. I was like, I know, like he wouldn't have posted that because but then he would post it because he's like, I'm not crazy. That's why I'm showing this to you. That's what they can do with this. And it's like, It doesn't matter because if he's going through this, like this could scramble someone's brain anyway. And they might be like, and they keep going. Blah, 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 blah. So I hesitate to do those videos anymore because it's kind of like, first of all, it pisses me off because I'm so offended that they're still able to still do this to people. And it's like, a lot of times when I'm doing those, I think it's about to be over, or I'm in a good mood or whatever. And I'm like, it's better than being tortured all day long and being in a bad mood and hearing like thoughts of suicide. And it's like, I can't even mention that to some people during this whole thing. And like, I'm being bolder and saying this sometimes because I'm not suicidal. I would never want to kill myself. And I don't mean that as a slight on anyone that's suicidal. These people may have, and they certainly tried it with me, for real. They try to get people to kill themselves and to hurt other people. They literally have tried to make me, instead of just calling APD, but because of APD's lack of response, I would be already in that position of, well, I'm gonna go to that practice and tell them tell the truth, or get a hire private investigator to go in them and tell the truth. But I'm like, how successful will that be? That could lead to something very bad. And now it's like, well, I remember what they look like. I don't remember what they look like, but I'm like, well, I know that what if there's two Hispanic ladies that are roughly the same size and age? Well, I recognize her face compared to someone else's face. Especially when they try to make me think that to modify my recollection of that. And I'm like, I can't go down there anyway because, first of all, what's going to happen? And then they'll be like, well, what if you get a gun or a knife in there? And I won't do that. Very important, again, should this video ever be looked at by people, or someone secretly recording me or whatever, and then behaving badly with someone that you already are aware has already been telling you that even if this is schizophrenia or something else, I won't do what I'm telling you this because it's important, because they're real people. And I'm also letting you know I would never be driven to that. However, when you keep suffering this injustice and people keep treating you like shit and people keep ignoring you. And this is also so important because of the reaction to this when this comes out, should it ever come out. People people will be so pissed and angry and upset. And so I'm just constantly caught in this frustration ball of I've never thrown a punch on anyone in my entire life. Are you thinking of harming yourself or anybody else? No, I don't want to hurt myself. Them, and it's I hesitate to even say that. A lot of times I said no to that question. If you're a victim of assault over and over and over again, if you've been raped or your partner's been raped, is it normal for you or your spouse to want to go kill that person or something like that? That would be a normal, honest, well, am I planning on doing it? No, I'm not planning on doing it. I hope I never have to do any of that. But they keep driving me through this to such anger and suffering that they're like, ooh, tell me that you want to kill me. Tell me that you're going to kill me. Ooh, let's come up with ideas of how we can have our comeuppance and our justice. And maybe it'll even be a public thing because of what we did. The Onion thing with the device that rips the person's head off, the execution thing. They built that big device and it's and it just rips the person's head off as a joke. But I said one time, and they might have actually put the words in my mouth to say back to them. So I'm saying that because when I say things like that, they like to do this thing where they're like, "Ooh, but that was us." So that little joke that you did, that little clever idea, that little clever that funny moment, that was actually us doing it through you. And you're you just thought that was you being funny, and it's no, we wrote all your material for you, and you're and it is kind of yeah, they actually could have done that. How much? I don't know. It's very important to find. There's so much importance on this, and they're just I don't know. We got all this information. No one will ever know that, and that's already oh my god, no one will ever know some of the things that I went through. They might not know what I went through at all, or believe what I went through. Oh my god, there's other people going through this. Some of them don't even know why they went through it. Some of them thought they were talking to angels or demons or lizard people or a dead person, and it's I keep pointing out like things that everyone's incorrect on. I keep telling them, like, I have witnesses that have felt this. I'm doing videos now where I can feel it. My head's hurting. No, it's not. I'm blocking it. Now my hand hurts. Like, I'm being electrocuted. I have not stopped getting electrocuted this entire video. Now they've turned it down in this. Now my arm's getting buzzed. Now my whole, like, my forearm feels like it's shaking sort of, or quivering, but it's not. It's like a pulsation or something that's making it feel like, kind of making it feel like, ooh, like feels like it's like wiggly or something. It's not moving at all, but it feels like on the skin and a little bit deeper in the tissue and the muscle, it feels like it doesn't really hurt, but it doesn't feel good. It's interesting, but they're going between, like, and this stuff can feel pleasurable, and certain, the way they do it, but it's like I don't want to be sexually pleasured by terrorists. Like, I want to move on with my life. And yes, I want those devices, and like I'm going to own that fucking company that makes these things. Like, we're going to come after you. And I don't care if the shareholders or not, or if it's contracted by the government, or if you're just a company that makes we're gonna fucking own that company should this ever get out, and we're gonna find out, did you guys know what you were making, or did you just build the things that were right and crowd control things, and then they just took it and made a hobby out of it? Did you know people were doing this? Maybe the company that makes these things, these devices, should it be an all-in-one drone thing? It could be multiple devices doing multiple things, but it's very well coordinated. Like, did you know that this is what it was being? Did you develop it for this? Really? Where did all that imagery come from? Who made the imagery that is so hard to capture sometimes clearly on that? And then even when I do think I captured it clearly, I'm like, but they could still be projecting something like on my monitor because it's around me all day long. It's kind of like when I was trying to record the voices. And I'm like, you can't record voices, Skull. It's microwaves. I mean, there may be a way to record it, and I've asked the FBI guy to look into it so that I could hopefully have something. And just like, I'm like, well, if I then eventually got it, they'd probably stop it. I'm like, well, then it would stop at least. But I don't even know if there's a way that you can capture the microwaves and then reproduce it into normal audio. I have no idea if that capability exists, and if so, like how could it be like above me? Because they made it seem like the two guys at the Manor house from the AC thing. Ooh, they're actually installing like a way to record voice to Skull above you. Are they? I don't know. I hope. I mean, what if they are? Well, why are you guys still doing this? Oh no, they're not. But then like, oh no, there's a mall, or there, and it's like, and like, or these things are being used on them, and they come up with all these things like, oh no, I'm the person talking through that person. Like, the person saying these horrible things to you doesn't even realize that we're using these things on them. And so before like things got so dark, and it's like it did get to that point where I'm like, they make these narratives and these things so outrageous, and there's all these coincidences happen that some may just be things they pointed out, and then some things are like, there's no way that's just a mere coincidence in all this. And they're like, well, that's because they're in on it with us. And I'm like, I don't think the worst of people. I'm like, that's a horrifying thing to think that all these things, or that some of them were literally, and it's scary to think that could be the case. I mean, they infiltrated my doctor's office that I went to for 17 years, and they got people to assault me and lie to me and fuck me over. And like, they got this person to do this, and they got this person to do that. And I'm like, you literally would go through this much effort to create all these like things that like that alone, it would be so fascinating to share with certain people. What if Paradigm Shift, which was dropped on Superstore, and isn't a normal phrase that would typically come up in like a comedy show like that, or like and it's a reference to Final Fantasy. I have no idea if that was a reference, if that was put in there because of them. Now when things like that happened, like I would say, and with help from them, and I would be hopeful. It'd be like a hopeful paranoia. So it'd be like, it's technically kind of like a paranoia, because like you're thinking more about something than is there. You're thinking there's like conspiracy behind it, but it's a hopeful one. It's like, oh, I'm like, that means they know. That means like someone leaked the videos of what you've been doing to me and to other people, or they captured you finally, and maybe it was one of you, or maybe they finally got on you, and then like it's being spread, like they got it to Hollywood and they got to like all these reporters, and like there are all these like underground videos going around on, or they're unlisted YouTube videos of this nonsense. So they're like, oh, now 14 million people know about what you're going through, and they're joking and they're making like a fun joke about it, which is horrible. They're like to make someone think, because they've done it to me before. Oh, it's about to be over, and then she got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm like, that would happen if like this got out. Like this will be the biggest thing in the world. And I'm like, oh, you guys are gonna be famous. And like I was like, they're like, you're gonna be famous. Like, and trying to make me feel bad about it. Like I'm like I have some like starfucker fame and envy. And I'm like, this is so important. I do want this to be like I've never been like I'm gonna be famous. But like I don't know, you know, there's always that like, oh, maybe they did that thing on that sitcom when anyway, they're trying to make me think of all these tangents. But like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be famous. You're gonna be famous too. Think about that. You're gonna be famous for never doing the right thing and being such a horrible human being that you deserve a punishment worse than death. And it's like, you deserve that like then when I said it the first time. And that was probably suggested by you. It's so asinine and so insane. So you come up with these ideas that, you know, that a person could come up with anyway, you know, coping through this of like, if someone's torturing you, like you normally be like, chill out, like when they're fucking with you. And, but then to go through it over and over and over again, and then to come up with like, I bet you we could arrange this because like, and I've literally have logged ideas for their comeuppance, like literally like their ending or, and it's kind of funny, but it's kind of like not funny, but it's like, and they suggested it. And I'm like, but what if this does get out? Like that will possibly be like legally possible, or no one, that could be like a publicly aired or pay-per-view event or an auction item for someone that wants to raise money for the cause to like, for so many causes or whatever that could come from this, for the victims or for the children or for farm aid or whatever the fuck they're saying. But I'm like, that would literally like, you're making all this like, you're making fun of the fact that I'm like, we get like of trying to think about how to overcome this before it's even over, and perhaps suggested by you from watching me at my house and watching me get frustrated with the news and the way that the system is and like where we handle the legal system and drugs and criminals who aren't criminals, and mentally ill people and homelessness and like, and they like, and then like they see my sensitivity to that and frustrations with it and desire that like, I just wish we could just, I'm like we should just do this and like look what this documentary did. Like that doesn't necessarily fix everything necessarily, but yeah, look at this video from In a Nutshell on addiction. And I don't think that was a video that you should have taken down, by the way. I think that was a very important one, and perhaps you felt like people considered that it was too like, oh well, people, you just get them out of their cage and then they won't be addicts anymore. I can see that was like perhaps one, but you could have just done another video to that or a follow-up to that. I have teared up in that video, and I'm saying this like they'll ever see it, but they've actually used the In a Nutshell guy's voice in these things. They've also used Marcus Brownlee and all these other people, and literally like, I'm like, that alone is like another injustice of like, that can't be lost. Like that can't be what I've been going through and what other people might have gone through. Like I can't just like have no justice and like have this like ruined life or be like murdered or like commit suicide or whatever. Hopefully never, because I don't have a desire to do that. But they threaten me all the time, and this could drive someone to that. And I'm like, what if I was still like suffering? What if they put the pain to a level where I'm like, I can totally see someone checking out from this. Like I don't think I would ever do that, but I'm like, I would probably flee somewhere. Like I literally was about to get on a plane ticket before I rented the room here at this place in Westlake. I was literally looking at plane tickets to like Fort Lauderdale or Chicago. And I'm like, well, I've got the $600 from my dad. I can either use it on rent money. I'm like, or I can flee, which I've tried before, and I came back to Austin still. And that last time I tried to flee, that was the last time I didn't hear the voices and I wasn't getting shot. And that was September 2017. Oh, but suddenly I start driving back, and then around Dallas, and I don't necessarily know that I lost them because they like to play games like that, and then they'll point that out later, either as a, well, you didn't think about this, and it didn't happen, but like they take such joy in coming up with alternative scenarios that like, or facts that like, I'm like, I don't know, I'm not harping on that. Maybe you actually were still following me and like were recharging your devices, or just like dialed it down, or maybe only one of you followed me and you were still on me, but you chose not to like talk to me or shock me. Or maybe you actually dropped back. I have no idea. That's very interesting. I would like to know that. It's not the most important thing in the world, but when I came back to Austin, like the next day, because I was like, oh shit, Robbie's not in Chicago. Shit, I do have that court day that I should go to. Fuck. I'm like, God damn it, I go back to Austin. I'm like, that could have been them actually making, subliminally making re-question that. I have no idea. But when I got back, I think around the Dallas area, the voices are just, and the whole drive from Dallas to Austin. I'm not saying Dallas was the exact point, but around the Dallas area is when the voices turned up again. That's not schizophrenia. Oh, so I drive to Missouri and then I don't hear anything or feel anything, to my knowledge. And possibly this was a fake mimicked event, but like, I don't know. But still, and then I just drive back to Austin, and then immediately I'm hearing the voices getting zapped again. I was desperate. Like, I don't have my new ID, and I was like, will the airport take the expired ID and my birth certificate and this? I'm like, well, maybe I should just get my ID. Like, well, maybe you should just try it, because maybe if you have your social security letter with your information on it and your birth certificate, maybe it'll be okay, because it's like there people lose their ID and like they do have ways to verify people. And I'm like, yeah, but then I have to get I can't take all this crap on the plane. Maybe I can drop off my stuff at Ray's house. And if he had called me, I would have done that. I would have gone to Ray's house, dropped off my stuff, and I would have attempted to take Max on a plane to like some other city. And the scary thing is, like, they can see me booking the thing. So that's like, well, how do I get rid of these people? So if I do get my Social Security disability, which who knows if I will or not, like, I'm going to try to get away from these people. Like, I can't. It's a nightmare. It's like it has to stop. And like, I have to get away from it. Like, I don't care. I have to get a passport and go to another fucking country. Like, it's like, but it's like, how do I lose them? I'm like, what if they're this stuck on me? I'm like, well, did I lose them when I drove to Chicago? Because I could get on a bus, but then I'm like, but I still have to drop off most of my stuff at like Ray's or something. And then he didn't get back in touch with me. So I was literally outside the hotel for like a couple hours. And I'm like, I don't want to come here because then I have to give the rent money. And then like, that's a whole nother month of just torture. And they'll probably still be stuck on me while I'm waiting for a decision on my disability, which may come back like no. I'm like, this is so important. I mean, that videos show evidence, and I'm like, the FBI guy is going to get the truth from these people, and they're like, but they're still on me. I'm like, why don't you guys just get off of me? I mean, if you're gonna be cowards and horrible people like you already are, like, why are you still on me, fucking with me? Like, I know that in the past that was to try to fuck me over and to look more mentally ill and to drive me to drugs or plant drugs on me or to make an incident happen to get me kicked out or whatever. Which I'm still surprised that the Manor incident happened. Like, I still can't believe that Alan took a hammer through the door and unlocked it. I still can't believe that even with manipulation, that my dad could have reacted that way. Well, the totality of this, and I guess when he said, like, Tim said it wouldn't be a good idea to talk to him, and I'm like, I guess, well, Tim's highly manipulable, as I witnessed directly, but I didn't think Tim was going to tell him about, like, you were getting worse. Yeah, it was getting worse. But, like, I'm not a violent person. I'm not suicidal. So, Dad, even with your logical brain, even though it's being fucked with possibly by these people, even to this day, but I'm like, they're on you all the time? Or do they just visit you on, like, vacation? Like, do they go to, like... I'm like, there's no, like, you don't think that's a violent incident. What's his house? You can... Well, that's what Tim said too, and it's kind of scary because they'll point that out. Well, Tim said that too. Isn't that weird? They're both making the same point that's illogical, and like your dad's like, Not this, like, you would think that he would not think that. They keep doing these things where it's like, it's unbelievable that people are still reacting that way about certain things. But then part of me is like, well, maybe my dad's got to the point where he's so fed up and he's so like, he finally puts that wall up and he's like, he just thinks schizophrenia, drug damage to his brain that could have never been caused by that anyway. Oops. And could have never been like at all. And still doesn't excuse your behavior or like, and so you're in the shit house with me, and it's like, but I'm like a bad person and a horrible human being, and I have to rely on you, and you make me feel like I'm the bad person constantly. So this type of shit would be playing to me all day long, and I have no idea. I'm literally hearing these words as I'm saying them from them. So, and I don't even know if it's an echo of what I'm saying. Is it an echo of what I'm saying? They call it echo reverb. That's the thing that they used to do a long time ago. They go echo reverb. And I'm like, my brain is not creating like this morning show zoo hour / murder mystery narrative thing / premonition thing. And it's like I do these videos and I'm like, what's the point of making them? And it's like, I'm like, we'll have to record it because what if they're not recording anything at all? Like this will be important to look back on. I'm like, well, then you should be been recording more of this. And but then I'm like, well, someone's gonna literally watch all this stuff, and it's what for after? I'm like, well, I want it to be over. I don't want to have to record 2 years of nonsense. Like Google, and like they're basically, it feels like to me like they're taking clips of like, or I don't know if it's organized or pre-organized or they're just coming up with on the fly of, and they do this all the time. They constantly remind me of all these injustices and horrible things that happen to me. All the time. And I'm like, I would already be like down about that anyway, but I don't want to think about that all day long. Like that might be something that someone might suffer anyway without them still being stuck on them. I'm like, no. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to listen to that. But then like, you can't block it. You can't do anything. So sometimes I don't know if I can, so I focus on Max. So I'll go out and play more with him and I'll try to be happy about it. But then they'll still say horrible things sometimes. Or sometimes like they'll get quieter and like the mood will get changed. I'm like, I have no idea if that's planned. I have no idea if that's me hopefully manipulating them to some degree of like, I'm like, I don't want it to get to I'm going to kill you with kindness and not let you bring me down. Like they sometimes try to make me, they take me through this weird psychological game of like, because I don't want to be in that state. And they know that I don't want to be in that state because they know me pretty well. And they're not entirely retarded. They're pretty clever on certain things, of like the obvious things, but then they torture people and they think they're going to get away with it forever because of maybe how powerful this suite of technology and skills is. And I'm like, and I've always been saying like, you may get away with it with me for a while. Like, I mean, you may like, oh my God, that would be horrible. Like I've already admitted like I've never been like, I'm like, they always make me feel bad about or try to mock me when I was taken to a mental health clinic on Thanksgiving 2016, and when I was handcuffed and being shocked and stuff, and then it made me think, and I could have been wrong. None of those people could have been in on it, although I do think that blonde guy was in on it to some degree. Maybe not, but I don't know. And like that's how careful I'm trying to be about this. I'm like, I don't think he's pretty sketchy, but I think he's worth looking into. But he's not like the number one person on there. But he's a suspect, as is the officer that showed a picture of what looked like Max with a different collar. And I was separated from Max several times, and I was like mocked by officers during that time period. They might have not known about the full thing, but you shouldn't have treated me the way that some of you treated me. Even if you did think I was a crazy person. That's so insulting that you would even treat a human being like that. Regardless of what they're going through, regardless if they did drugs or were crazy or were suffering what they said that they were suffering from. Which some of you should have recognized. And maybe some of you did recognize and intentionally did not follow up on that. Like, I felt electrocuted. Like, oh my God, I felt surges going through me. Oh my God. Like, you guys are very nice to me, but I'm like, electrocution just doesn't happen. Like, and you listen to the 911 call. I'm like, I have to sit and do all these public records requests and not even get all the documentation that I need, all the videos. And then I finally get this from Tom almost a year fucking later, asshole. And I'm like, if I had gotten them immediately, then I could have like done follow up with them, and then I could have gotten the video from that. And like, what if that video is lost now? I'm like, you guys fucked me over, Tom and Dad. You fucked me over. And it wasn't entirely your fault, but it's like, and then you get on my case, for like, Chip, this disability thing is taking too long. Yeah, Dad, it is taking a long time, and you kind of fucked me over on that yourself. Remember that a long time ago when I was like, I need money for this, and I need money for that, and you're like, well, Tom priced this portion of what you need for that, so I'm going to send you less money than that, so then you can't even do that, and then it'll take longer for them to get the documentation, and I won't have all your highlights that might have swayed them in a certain way. Like, here's what it says. Here's what it says schizophrenia. Here's the date on that. Oh, here's where it says this. Here, I've highlighted it, and I provided footnotes ahead of time in these sections. Oh, but they'll just get all the documentation, and they'll look at themselves, and maybe they'll see it, maybe they won't. Maybe I could have gotten, maybe my documentation would have gotten me to an approval. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe this was done a psychiatric appointment, but maybe that appointment would have been set up sooner. Am I making you feel horrible and sending you text, Dad, and saying fuck you, fuck you, fuck you? No, I mean, no, but you're telling me like you're making me feel bad and making me feel like I just sent you like 5 days ago. Well, yeah, Dad, the week is coming up, and I'm telling you, like, I still have groceries, and I say that in the text. Yeah, Dad, I still have groceries in the pantry, but they might go grocery shopping this weekend. And if I don't go do grocery shopping this weekend, then that means I'll have to get a Lyft, which will be more expensive, or I'll be shopping at the convenience store down the street, which costs more and doesn't have all the things. They don't even have lunch meat or cheese. And which I'm already knowing that you're probably going to react this way in your next text. So I'm already like buffering that with like before, as I'm asking you, yes, Dad, I still have groceries. I have not run out of groceries. But like it has been 5 days and they typically go on the weekend. So if I wait until the middle of the week, like, I guess that'll be fine. But like, if you're giving me the money now, I could get more groceries and cheaper groceries, and I'll just get them the weekend and it'll be done. It'll be more convenient. I still took a Lyft there because like sometimes I would just go to the store and not tell me. But I was like, I'm just going to go there and not like do that thing where I'm like, when you guys go to the store, because I never knew when they were going to go to the store. And sometimes then they didn't tell me when they did. They're going through their own problems. And even though I said that, Dad, in that fucking text, I still have groceries. But if I go in like 2 or 3 days, I might have to take a Lyft or buy more expensive stuff at the convenience store. So they're going, yeah, convenient. Kip, I just sent you $100 5 days ago. Yes, Dad. That's why, like, knowing that you would react that way, like the asshole that you fucking are. Like, yes, that's why I was so polite and like pre-explaining something, because you've been like asking so many details about certain things, making me feel like I have to explain every single motherfucking thing in the world. And they take me through these emotions all day long, and I don't like I don't want to harp on it. And all day long I'm going through this. So it's been 2 hours and 30 minutes. What's the point of this video? I wasn't initially thinking of saying it to the FBI guy. I still am thinking about it, but I'm like, I'm gonna have to do like a quick thing, or maybe I'll just do another video and then post that, because I was like, it's very important for people to see the video and to see me like I am calm, despite the fact that I'm still being electrocuted, which I have to keep mentioning to people. It's like sometimes I am getting that would happen normally about someone that was talking about an injustice done to them, or bitch about something that people aren't even acknowledging. Dad, you should have called me back immediately on voice or on video phone, and you should have apologized for not believing me about the Red River family practice. Period. End of discussion. You didn't. You still haven't. I've reminded you of that. You have not apologized for that. I don't know if it's from them or from, I have no idea, but like, I never thought you were the type of person that couldn't apologize for something, or that were so stubborn on something that when you were corrected on it, Like you did say, like it makes you angry when you like correct me on things, but I'm like, that seems to be an acknowledgement that like you're trying to tell me that makes you angry. But I'm like, how do you think it makes me feel when I have to correct you on things? When you tell me, when you tell me a bad recollection and claim that I'm the one that told it to you that way? Don't you think the person that's giving the recollection, that's correcting you on that recollection again and again, where their version hasn't changed, but of course you don't know that because your version keeps changing, which is understandable because it could be by that, and it could be the fact that old age, and it's like you took such offense to that, and I'm like, oh, I have to be careful about saying shit like that ever again because he just checks out like a motherfucker. Like I didn't realize you were that type of person, Dad. Like I thought you could literally know that, like, especially when I buffer it, like you need to understand what I'm going through, whether or not you think it's up here that I'm fucking crazy, or whether or not you think it was drug damage or whatever. I'm a wonderful human being, and you and Robin did not treat me appropriately, and it's understandable to a point. But I keep, and then like, well, you're not sending a link to this video to him. And I'm like, I probably won't. I don't know. I probably won't now because it's all over the place now, and it's like I'm almost giving up on that. And I'm like, maybe someone will tell him to watch these videos. I'm like, well, if he did, then like if he's watching this, or if like the FBI's on this, or there's this has been investigated, how can he sit there and watch me or know that I'm sitting there and suffering and like going through this and being pushed to the brink of like suicide or murder, or just suffering, just knowing that I won't do those things and still letting me suffer? How can you let them do that? And then they'll say, oh, well, they don't have footage. They know that this is so important, and to do all the things that you want to do and what society would want to do, we have to get all this footage. And they fucking torture me all the time with that. They're like the reporter's here. Oh no, they just got here, and they'll be here for 1 or 2 days recording what we do, and recording us doing it secretly or with them. And but that story got so ridiculous that it was like. And they literally set these narratives up in a way of like, we're gonna get fucked over. We're fucking ourselves over. We're horrible human beings, and we're literally pretending to be our family. We're literally acting out scenarios in which we are totally not sincere and totally fucking you and trying to make you believe this, knowing that you don't believe it anymore. But like, we are literally acting out things where we pretend to be our family, catching us doing this. As we're pretending to be them, and like, if that makes sense, like they literally act out scenarios where they lecture themselves, and because they can speak through me, I can let them speak through me, words can be manipulated. What if someone has these things on them as like, we gotcha, like here's the final moment, like this is such a big thing, we need a final like fuck over, we need a final like comeuppance. And I'm like, yeah, but that was like so long ago. Well, that means we just have to make it an even bigger one. The reporter's here. The reporter's here from Vice News, and they're going to stick with us for a day or two. And I'm like, no, come see me now. No, come talk to me. And then it's like got so ridiculous. But then like they make it so fucking ridiculous. Like it is slightly scary that it's like they're so fucking sure that they're not going to get caught. I mean, with whatever. I mean, especially if they're cops or government. I mean, so far, like APD hasn't even investigated any of my cases, even when there's confessed suspects. It's like a blatant ignorance of. They said they don't have enough evidence. Okay, listen to what you just told me, mental health officer, and I would really like you, and I would like your supervisor to call me back with their supervisor. How can you tell me that you don't have enough evidence when I've given you evidence and the 2 suspects have confessed? And then a stolen phone thing too. And I'm like, you have literally investigated crimes of all my cases, maybe not gang stalking, but certainly terroristic threats. You have literally investigated cases, lots of cases of stolen phones, of hackings, of assaults, of terroristic threats or actions, stalking. You have literally investigated hundreds of cases of each of those types of crimes that had less evidence than mine. That is, I guarantee that. You literally have investigated stolen phones just with the he said, she said thing. I have proof that my phone was in or around, right outside, or the room above, of Jason Barrientos' room where Fast Mike probably took it. I'm like, how did that guy get hooked up with that guy? Because it's them. I literally have proof. Like, there's another find your device tool. There's a screenshot of it. Like, I'm not saying I think that that's the guy. And his email address was put in as my recovery email address, or an email address to mocked up profiles that were his, that were mocked up, which could technically be true, but there were at least 2 Facebook and 1 Google Plus profile, I think, link, like, that I showed you links to. Here's the email address, JJ Barrientos 22 or whatever. And I'm like, this links to these Facebook profiles. Here's all of his friends on there. Here's where it says he works. Here's where like his family members are. Here's the room he's staying in right now, and he has an ankle monitor on, and would have been very easy to find and talk to, and probably would have told the truth. And he has 2 other friends that know these people too, because there's no way that he knew that guy just naturally, or like there's no like that happened, and like there's no way that that guy just pops up at my friend's apartment place that I stay at right out of jail months after like I've seen him. Some homeless kid or that's couch hopping or whatever just happens to be walking my apartment, mouthing off to me sarcastically. That just happened randomly. I mean, I guess so. I mean, that one incident could be a random occurrence. And then he could have mentioned things that had happened to me at those places, telling me that he didn't know that he wasn't part of that. I'm like, but so you know about it. And you're mentioning it to me now because you knew about it, because you're probably part of it. And that's why you're being such a smart ass and whatever. So like, you've literally investigated cases with almost no evidence at all. And like, the only way I could have had more evidence is if I had a video of him taking my phone and then hacking my account, which they may actually have. So this video will serve, I guess, as a video that will never be watched, or will be watched by 100 million people eventually. And now they're playing the fucking talk to me thing with Peter Gabriel, which is fucking bullshit. Like, they keep playing these things like it's a fucking documentary acting out in real time. And they're like, well, we finally got people got in on it, and this is going to be such a big thing that we're like, we had to make something about it. They didn't have any footage before, so now we have to get footage of them doing this. I'm like, we're taking too long. I'm like, I have to constantly say, just in case this ever happens, because I'm like, well, they can manipulate people. So what if they know that they're caught and they're about to be caught? And they literally said this to me, and they're like, we're just waiting to see how long it takes them to actually pry these things out of our hands and to literally catch us. Like, we think we are caught. We think they are watching us, or we know that they're watching us. And they'll constantly play like fake. They'll play like audio that could be the soundboard, or it could be real audio of like my dad talking to Tom saying, Tom, Kip's never going to forgive us for this. As if like I'm hearing a conversation clip of them while they're watching them, of them like, he's never going to forgive us for this. We're going to have to like pretend that we don't know what's going on and still investigate this. And I'm like, that could be the case, but like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, but before, like a long time ago, like that would prompt me to go, just in case, because I don't know if like, I'm like, they could be torturing me with that, and that could be a real clip. That was, or a recreation of what they witnessed or recorded of like a conversation between my dad and Tom on the phone or in person, because they did find out that I told the truth, and yet it was so big they had to pretend not to know so that they could catch these people. And so that would, before, like with the reporter, the reporter's just here, like, but they're going to spend 2 days with us. And I'm like, no, like, no, don't. It's like a constant, like, drawn out torture thing that they do. And like occasionally I'll be like, just in case someone is watching them, again, probably hear me too, even if they're just watching you. I'm like, it is not worth the additional suffering just to me and to all these other people that are suffering through this. Because some people have suffered, and like, even if they stop fucking with them, like they still fuck their lives over, or they still suffered something that they don't understand, or that they do understand to some degree. And they're still suffering from that because that was not fixed. They were still fucked over. They lost a house. They were hospitalized. They had some major incident happen, and they feel this injustice or this wrongdoing to them. Some don't even know that was a group of human beings behind it. I'm like, this is so important. And I used to say, I understand that whole thing of like, well, we need footage because we're not going to get the reaction to this that we need to move forward. And I'm like, I'm acting like I've gotten to the point where I've adapted to this to the point where like there are some days where you can, if you were watching me secretly with a video, you would not know that I was like going through this crap. You might see me do like this, like in my bedroom or something. Like, why is he like if you were secretly watching that way? But like, then again, a private investigator wouldn't have that type of equipment typically. But I'm like, so I've gotten to the point where I have had to adapt to that point because I'm so tired of it and whatever, and just deal and just suffer. And like, and now that I know what it is, and it's nothing I can do about it anyway. I mean, it's natural to talk back to them sometimes. It's natural to be like stop it and to be mad. And they can manipulate that to such a degree that they could get me to that point again. And they have at a certain point, but now I'm like, I'm not yelling, like shut the fuck up or something like that. I'll be like in my room, and I'll whisper or not even whisper it. Sometimes I'll be like, shut the fuck up. And like, so I'll be screaming, but like no volume, like no one will be able to hear it, except for them. And I'm like, do they really hear it, or are they hearing it because someone's saying that through the voice to skull thing and it's coming out of my mouth that way? So they heard it that way anyway. It's fucking insane. And so I'm like, I know that this is so important that I can understand people having to pretend not to know so that they catch these people. But I'm like, I literally thought that was happening over and over and over again. And it's such a horrible thing to do to someone and to allow it to happen. And it's like Janet Roberts, you sent me an email and like, I can't even send a link to you to this video because I guess I could, but like, you guys are going to watch a 3-hour video. Like, maybe they are watching. No one's watching. Maybe Google knows because, and then like they do these things. Like I used to bitch about like, and I'm still bitching about like Google Drive, your YouTube download thing. Like make that easier. Let us download the fucking video. Even if it's not their video, let them download the fucking video. Who gives a shit? Like they can get it anyway. If they're the type of person that would do that, they can get it anyway. I guess if you want to keep the download things a proprietary fucking thing, it's like whatever. But you could at least make it so where like we could find it in there, like do something, you know. But I can't download the video through the mobile thing. You got to go through the fucking web thing, and then that's fucked up because you got to download like. I'm like, I got all these partial downloads in there, and it wasn't just because my thing got filled up. And like this thing fucked up, like, and like this video should have downloaded in like a second. Like, and then your app store, like stop putting caps on that shit or bandwidth caps. Like, why can't my Google Drive? It's like, even when I had Google Fiber, I could not upload a Google Drive for faster than like 5 or 7 megabits a second, if that. I could not watch a video on my Google Drive. And then magically, or not so magically, suddenly like the videos in Google Drive started being more instantly watchable. And the first time I noticed that, it was only during an upload of a video, one that was still uploading. And I was like, wow, like it's still uploading. Like it doesn't have like, that's awesome. I can start to watch my video of what, at least what's uploaded already. And I'm like, but it doesn't work on one that's already been uploaded. And I'm like, well, maybe it's just on future videos. And maybe it's like, maybe they'll have to go back and reconvert like past videos and it'll be like, kind of like a YouTube thing that they're doing. But that feature still didn't work, but then it did. I'm like, and they pointed out to me immediately. They're like, look at that bug. You like, oh, look, they finally fixed it. But they did it in a way that like you only noticed it at this point where it's like if they fixed that bug, if they fixed that problem, they would have done it for like around like, and it's like, yeah, they would have. And they probably wouldn't have done it on uploads first, although the developer could have chosen to tackle that first. And then they're like, no, we saw that immediately because we needed to look for it because it is someone at Google and they're working with us because it's another sketchy individual that we were doing that to fuck you over. I'm like, I don't want to get that fucking like. And then in one of my videos where they're talking through me, they mentioned that again. And like that would be a scary scenario to think. Literally, they're doing this, and I'm like, it's that entertaining and it's that exciting to fuck over individuals and to go through all that effort for me. they're like, there's no way you're going through that much effort for me to fuck me over. I mean, you're going through so much effort anyway to fuck me over, and I know that you enjoy it so much. But I'm like, you're literally talking to other people with this shit. Like, then that means it is probably cops, and they're all, and like you're all starting to do like this little network of things, or it's you guys are spread out anyway. It's a government study. It's the military. I'm like, why would you do this? Because it's fun. I'm like, but there's no way that Google thing. I mean, I guess it could have been like an evil, complicit Google person, but I'm like, I mean, they did infiltrate my doctor's office, but I'm like, you made a phone, and I'm like, well, my dad did mention to me the day after Thanksgiving when I went back to my old house that I hadn't been to in like over 10 years. And then he suddenly, when I'm trying to ask him to tell me the name of a guy that he used to work with named Gay Seaman, he literally worked with a guy named Gay Seaman. And I met the guy once and shook his hand in the break room. So he does exist. Hopefully he's still alive. Hi. Shout out to you. And I'm trying to be hopeful about, hey, he'll someday, one day, hopefully see this and be like, even though this is a horrible thing. I try to I can't be hopeful about those things again. And I hardly ever do those. I used to do this all the time where I'm like, I used to basically do shout outs to celebrities and like YouTube celebrities and real celebrities because we would mention them and they would make me feel like they were watching. And I'm like, well, they're going to watch eventually anyway, right? Like, hopefully you guys have footage because a lot of times this shit like gets recorded anyway because it's fun and they like to record it. And they knew it was so important. They kept saying that they were going to record it. And I'm like, I don't even know if like that person's ever going to know that. I'm like, well, at least they'll get a recollection so that when this is turned into a fictionalized movie, all right, based on true story movie, like then they'll get their shout out perhaps, and from these recollections, and then at least a word will get to them and like, oh, I'll get a hug from Michelle Obama or whatever because they did this thing where they made me think, and that like it was about to be over, and it's like, oh, the whole country's watching, and you feel like you're on like a reality show, and I'm like, well, I can understand this being so important that someone watches this, and then they make it that big, because it will be that big. It'll be that big in retrospect. Those people will feel sympathy and compassion, and sometimes they'll be like, oh, hey, because it'll be like a fun moment or whatever, and then they keep recreating these things because they'll mention them again as a pain point and a fun thing. They'll be, they'll mention them again, and they're like, oh, we're mentioning them again because we're doing all those funny, cool things. And because we didn't have footage from it then, now we're going to have footage from it. And I'm like, that's like, I can understand that. Like they go through all these like scenarios and they try to justify them. And this is my whole fucking day, all day long. They do this. I don't want to do this. But like, I literally almost fled yesterday, but like, I couldn't get ready to call me back to like drop off the stuff with him. So I could just take one bag and max on a plane and just get out of here with my $600. I'm like, I can get a plane ticket for like $250 or $350. And then I'm like, I literally was going to do that. And because I know if I get an airplane and it flies over there, I know the voices and the pain will stop instantly. I know that for a fact. I know that it'll stop. It stopped when I was going to Chicago. I'm hesitant to try to go across the country again or go take a road trip because they followed me down here. And it's like, I don't want to be on a fucking bus across the country for like 2 days. And I'm like, well, what if I just get a bus going all over the place and then maybe eventually I'll lose them? I'm like, that's too slow. They'll just follow me. I'm like, I need to be able to like get on plane tickets and like get a plane here and a plane here. And then maybe like on my connecting area, maybe I get off there and then I go and I drive somewhere. And then like, that's literally what I'm going to have to do. Hopefully if I get my disability thing, but they can probably get that declined or it might get declined anyway. But I'm like, I just can't believe, like, Dad, like, you could have like come here and visit me and like, let's go up on a plane, a private jet. Let's go somewhere. We'll take a private jet. You've got the money to do that anyway. I'm so sick of you being a penny pincher. I'm so sick of you being such a cheap ass when I know that I don't expect you to like support me and like for the rest of your life. But if I was mentally ill or had a damaged brain, I'm like, you shouldn't make me feel bad about it. And maybe you might have to support me for the rest of my life. Even if like, if I don't get disability, hopefully I eventually will, but like, you shouldn't make it be such a painful process and make me feel like a bad person for doing that. Like, fuck you for that. Like, God damn it. Like, I can't even, like, every time I go to the store, it's like I get enough and then I am still smoking, but I'm still going through this shit. I know you don't want to support me smoking, but it's like imagine if I wasn't smoking. Imagine when you quit smoking. Imagine that stress times 1 billion. And then you like were digging the cigarette out of like the fucking ashtray after you quit. Have some fucking sympathy, Dad. And then now they're playing the Metrics Give Me Sympathy song. So I'm like, they chart this out? Like they do that all the time. I'm like, is it like a radio DJ board? I'm sure it is sometimes. And then now they're going boing. Meh. I'm like, how do they have these sound effects? So many sound effects, like so fast. I'm like, well, they do it on the radio pretty fast, but like that's like a limited number. And I'm like, well, they do have a limited number, sort of, I guess. But then sometimes they will act out and they'll show, ooh, look how many sound bits we did tonight. I'm like, well, that part could have been planned, and I don't care about it. But this is my day all day long. So maybe this will be helpful to look at for my dad to see. But then I'm like, I don't want to talk to that motherfucker ever again anyway, because and they're like, oh no, your dad's a wonderful person. He is, but he just had to pretend. I'm like, I really hope he does think I told the truth. I hope this investigation is about to be over, but that doesn't mean you leave me in a situation where I'm being tortured and terrorized daily, even if there's no footage and you need to get footage of it, because most of the time I'm walking around and you can't even tell anymore, because I'll get to these states where in between these videos, like after I make this video and stop it, I probably won't talk to them for a while, maybe a day, maybe ever. Like I've literally gone like weeks and I don't talk to them. I went to them. Sometimes I'm like, I mean, I did document the pain videos, and I might do that again, or I might not. I might don't have done enough of those. I'm like, but then I might think, well, I need to document it again. Like, hey, I'm still going through this. Yes, but if you document that you're still going through it in a different city, they'll think you're crazy, because why would these people follow you? It's like, why would they do this to begin with? Look at what we're dealing with. I'm like, well, the FBI guy will find out the truth, because he's gonna go to the Red River Family Practice people. Like, well, they don't work here anymore. He'll find them. Well, they don't know where. Like, well, he's not with us. I doubt that. Could be, but probably not. Well, we get other people. It's like, no. Well, we can manipulate him in a way to make him not to think you're more crazy, like we may have done with some of these people, like we did with your father. I'm like, I know you did that with my dad. I know. Going back to he was off on so many tangents. And I've said this in other videos. He's never going to see this video anyway, or if he is, it's going to be we're going to be strange and never talking to each other again. And then like hopefully I'll still be alive, and the world will know what you guys did to me and to other people. But it's like, yay. No, but that's your choice. You can choose to forgive, and you can choose to make things all good again. Yeah, let's take advantage of my wonderful ability to get past things. And say that 2 years ago, and then like take me through 2 more years of hell, and like to drive me to such a dark point that like that's why some of those things we can't do anymore. It's like, oh well, we're never going to do those things anyway, because no one knows what you're going through, and we're going to kill you tonight at 9 p.m. Or we're going to drive you to the point of suicide, which we've already tried to, and we know that we can't do that. But the fact that you're mentioning it now in a YouTube video, you'll probably get thrown in an insane asylum, which. And we're taking over the words again, which we did at Motel 6. We did this thing where we made this thing where it sounded like Kip was talking to people in the future, and he was kind of gullible that night. But when people go along with it, they just go along with it, and it's kind of a natural response, and we can manipulate them. So we make fun of him for believing that there was a time travel thing involved. But it was kind of a cool thing that he experienced, and he knows that he wasn't talking to people in the future. But at that moment, it was made very believable, and we made him thinking he was talking to like Tina Fey and Joe. And see, now we're recollecting it, and Kip's not recollecting it. We're recollecting it, and that's an example of they're on us and they're blocking us. The guy speaking through Kip is actually being talked to by somebody else. Kip does not believe this is the case, but this is another example where wouldn't this be a wonderful moment of like, why don't we? But we've done this so many times that, and I'm getting buzz. My ass was getting buzz. No, Kip's is, but mine is not. No, yours is about to. And we do this thing where we pretend like we're getting zapped, and we'll act out like, hey, the guy speaking through Kip right now, you're about to be zapped. You're making these words up, and you're sending them to Kip. And I could be totally honest and say like, I'm a white guy and I'm wearing a red shirt and blah 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 blah. And like, Kip is not going to believe it. But wouldn't that be cool if we said that? But like, it would be cool. But then they don't even do that part, or I won't even know if it's true. But they'll still like they'll get to the edge of like, hey, you guys speaking through Kip right now? His phone's about to die, and then the video will go. Wouldn't it be cool if we like caught you right now? Why aren't we doing that? And we do these things where we're like, we act like we're sincere. Like, it'd be totally cool to tell the truth and be known to be like these horrible people that are still shocking Kip's feet, and they're still shocking his body, and that have ruined his life, and that have ruined his relationship with his family.